Yeah, thank you, everyone who has turned up here. I think for now I'll stand until the time that tutaanza moderation, then I'll sit down and we take over the entire. So tena karibu sana. My name is Komen Solomon. Kwenye mtandao wengi wenyu mnaniita Komen SK. I'm the team leader at Baringo News, and Baringo News is a brand which is managed by Eblin Media, and Eblin Media is one of the partners in this conversation. Our objective as Baringo News and the entire Eblin Media team is to give Baringo County an alternative voice. The mainstream media may cover much of the major events that are happening in the country, and ours is to fill the gaps that have been left by the mainstream media. And we are very grateful for the loyalty that you've given us as the audience. And you've also built an audience and you've given us credibility. That is why we have an opportunity to partner with organizations like the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance to organize such a forum. So I'll go sit, then I'll give you the ground rules, or maybe I can give you the ground rules so that when we begin, we are on the same page. So for the audience, we'll request that you put all your phones on silent mode. You realize that this is a live event, so there are very minimal chances of correcting a mistake that we will commit. Aspirants hatutaweza kuona sura yake while we are continuing with the conversation. So we minimize movements. Weka simu on silent mode. Ikiwezekana, you can just put it off until we finish the debate. It won't be long, maybe an hour, kienda sana, an hour, 30 minutes. The second one, we'll also request that wakati ule aspirant anafanya presentation yake, akipata correct, don't clap. Akikosea pia usimpigie kelele. We are giving them an equal platform, and na hakuna mtu yeyote anafaa kusikia kwamba amekuja hapa kufanyiwa kitu inaitwa intimidation, or we need not to make someone feel that this event was organized to underrate them. So no clapping, no cheering, and no booing or jeering. Asante sana, naamini tumeshika hayo. Alafu nadhani the rest of the ground rules will affect both the aspirants na sisi wengine, na pia sisi audience ambao tuko hapa. Ukiwa na swali, note it down. Kama uamini kwamba utakumbuka na unataka kuiuliza immediately, write it down na ukae nayo. There'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions, and one of us here will be in charge of that docket of handling your questions, both online and those that we are we are giving out from this audience. So karibuni sana, we can now begin. So for the technical team, I believe we are ready, so that when we begin to introduce the aspirants, or rather the candidates, we will be able to see them as they walk into the stage. So maybe for the purposes of those who are watching us online, we are welcoming you to the debate, the MCS debate for Kabarnet Ward. Kabarnet Ward is one of the 30 wards in Baringo County with a population of about 40,000, and a voter population that is of the registered voters as of the IBC register of 2022, where we are talking of about 15,204 voters. Kabarnet Ward as well is hosting the county headquarters of Baringo County, that is Kabarnet Town, and it is one of the wards that you would be interacting with should you be coming to Baringo County. And this program gives an opportunity to the candidates who are vying for this particular position to highlight their agenda as to why they are vying for this seat and why they believe that they have a better vision than the rest of the candidates. And this platform as well gives them an equal opportunity to answer the questions that will be asked by the panelists here. And on the bit of panelists with me here, I have two of my colleagues. To my right, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Good morning A very good morning to everyone here in the audience and those that are watching us online. My name is Janet Nandwa Ongoli, and I'll be the moderator for today. I'll be handling the questions that are coming in from the public, both in the audience and online. Feel free to write all your questions around. And if you're in the audience, I'll give you a chance to ask the questions. If you're online, feel free to put all your questions on the comment section, and we'll analyze them and ask them to our candidates. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Janet. So Janet will be handling our questions, and should you have a question on the online platforms, you can drop it on the comment section. We are live on Baringo News, Ravine News, and the sponsoring organization that is a Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance. To my left, we have I have a colleague as well. Maybe you can take time to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Philip Tono. I'm a pleasure to be with us this morning. I'm seated here representing Baringo Civil Society Organizations Forum as the chair. We are a network of community-based organizations, and we've been keen to rally citizens to put the candidates to vet candidates for the position of the MCA. So I invite all 190 to be very participatory in the process. And our objective here is to enable citizens. Here the manifestos, here they articulate the development agenda for the Baringo people. So for us, we expect citizens to participate in this, and we invite the candidates to be candid enough and respond to the issues that the NHU wants. Otherwise, welcome.
Thank you, Philip. So Philip, as you've heard, is a chair to the Baringo Civil Society Organization Forum for Baringo County. It makes up about, or rather it brings together about 25 civil societies in Baringo County, and their role is to ensure that public participation and maybe open governance is achieved within Baringo County. And of course, they are a key partner in this debate as well, led by the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance. I'm acknowledging our partners. We have the BACSOF, of which Philip is the chairman. We also have Uraia Trust. We also have Danida, the Danish Embassy. And of course, we are live on Baringo News, so we are also a partner in ensuring that we spread this conversation throughout the county, and also to reach out to the people who may not be able to be here with us. We also acknowledge the county government Department of Civic Education. While we were beginning, there was an opening session where the director had an opportunity also to address this sitting. We also acknowledge the security team who are here to ensure that we are on course, or rather we have the security beefed up here, because it is a political season and security is a key thing. And right about now, we are going to invite the aspirants or the candidates who have been cleared by the IEBC will be participating in this debate. I'm being reminded of the Ministry of Interior as a partner also, who are here, who have deployed their officers here to ensure that we are safe, or rather the security is beefed up here. So the wording, the Ministry of Interior. So Kabarnet ward has 4 candidates who have been cleared, and maybe from one of the cameras you should be able to see that the podium has 4 seats, and all the aspirants have been extended, or rather were extended an invite. So we will get to calling on their names, and for those who have managed to attend, then you will move forward. We will go on alphabetical order so that nobody feels that they have been favored to come before the other or something like that. So we'll start with Mheshimiwa Ernest Kibet, who is the sitting MCA and vying on UDA party. Karibu sana. Mheshimiwa Ernest Kibet, you can take your seat. You'll just go in that order based on the name, or rather, if your name comes first, you'll take the first seat, like that. Asante na karibu sana. We will go to Haron Komen, who is vying on a Kano ticket. Do we have him here this morning? Haron Komen. Okay, Haron Komen seems not to be with us here, and I believe should there be apologies, we will be able to get from the team that was in charge of inviting these candidates. The third candidate is Joel Ruto, who is vying on a CCM Chama cha Mashinani ticket. And finally, karibu sana Joel Ruto. So Joel Ruto, karibu sana. Yeah, that is a rare gesture. Karibu sana. They have taken a moment to greet each other, and I think that goes with what the county, the representative of the Ministry of Interior was saying. We need to maintain peace. And finally, last but not least, Mheshimiwa Johana Chebon. Mheshimiwa Johana Chebon is vying on an independent ticket. Seems like he may not be here with us. Maybe we will get to have the apologies presented here by the organizing committee. So we are privileged to have two candidates with us here. That is Mheshimiwa Ernest Kibet, who is the sitting MCA, and thank you for coming, and Joel Ruto, who is vying on a CCM ticket. Well, now that you've taken your seats, we will give you the ground rules for the day so that we are able to run the debate successfully. So the ground rules for the candidates, you may not be allowed to access a surrogate or maybe someone who will advise you during the debate, unless during the break, when you're having a break, you're able to access advice from them. On the side of the audience, we may not allow placards, maybe material that seem to support any other candidate here. So we'll just remain calm with our pen and papers. If you have a question, you write it down, but not lifting anything that shows support for any candidate who is seated in front of us. You can see on your desks, or rather your coffee tables, there's some water. It is provided for you. You can take it whenever you need it. So don't feel usikatae kutumia maji. Utahitaji maji wakati unapoongea. Number 3, or rather number 4, I'm sure you have your manifestos with you, and maybe ziko kwa gari ama ziko wapi. If you have it here, you may not access it for today because we believe the manifesto came from your mind, and that's what we are discussing today. So you may not have access to any extra material aside from the questions and the answers that we'll be giving each other. Questions that will come from the public, itapitia on the moderator's desk. That is why we have Janet here, who will aggregate all the questions na tuweze kuwauliza from the moderator's desks. There will be time limits that we'll give you for every question that we'll ask, and whenever you're told your time is up, tafadhali utaweza you will agree to that and maybe allow for the next event to continue. Then if you have a mobile phone, you might want to switch it off or put it on silent mode so that we don't get any interruption. And should there be an issue that you want to respond to, you can raise to the panel so that we give you an opportunity to respond to your colleague who you at a point whereby you feel you need to make a response. And finally, on the questions that we'll be asking, we have about 7 questions, and myself and Phil will be alternating. If I ask one question now, Phil will ask the next time, and we will do it like that up to the end. We will do the first 3 questions and the last 4 after the break. So we'll have one break in between, and during that break, before we go on that break, we'll ask the questions with regards to the first 3 questions zenye tutakuwa tumeuliza, alafu ile ya mwisho tutauliza tukielekea kumaliza. Karibuni. And now that we are maintaining social distance, you can do away with your mask, Mheshimiwa, so that people can see your face. Karibu sana. So we'll take about 2 minutes for introduction. So we'll give an opportunity for each one of you to introduce yourself. And here we start. So I believe we will still continue with the first order we came with, and we'll give Mheshimiwa Ernest Kibet an opportunity. We give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and maybe help us understand why you think you are fit for this position. Karibu.
Thank you so much, SK. The audience, good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. My name is Ernest Kibet Arus, currently MCA Kabarnet Ward, and also a candidate for Kabarnet Ward for the second time. I'm a candidate through a party. My party is UDA. So for me, being this is my second time, I want to really appreciate the organizers. In 2017, I was able to participate in the same forum, and I can tell you that it really molded my leadership. And today, I'm so appreciative. I've come back again to tell the people of Kabarnet why I still fit the bill. For me, I've had an experience with the leadership. We are still experiencing devolution, and the duration that I've had, I feel strongly that I've had a firm foundation. I've set in place long-term achievable plans. So my request will be to the people that they give me more time so that we are able to achieve whatever we've put on the table as a long-term process. In the meantime, we've been able to achieve few things as a short-term intervention, but devolution needs consistency, and that is what I present to you people. Thank you.
Asante sana, Mheshimiwa. Maybe before you put down the mic, I'm sure there's someone anajiuliza na huyu Ernest Kibet alisomea nini? That's an area you've overlooked, and right now in the country there's a conversation around ulisomea wapi.
Thank you so much, SK. Personally, my education background, I went to Kemalel Boarding Primary School, then to Kabarnet High School. I went to India to pursue degree in Bachelor's of Commerce, and I also pursued a master's degree in accounts taxation. So that is my level of education. I'm also a CPA. I've pursued CPA to section 4. So those are my credentials.
Asante sana, thank you.
Education.
Thank you for keeping time. So we go ahead to the next candidate, that is Mheshimiwa Joel Ruto. Karibu sana. You can take about 2 minutes to introduce yourself and tell us why you think you're fit, or rather you're well suited for this seat. Karibu.
Thank you. The whole protocols of served, especially the organizing committee. Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to take this opportunity to say thank you very much for such a wonderful time that you have created for us to have a debate on how and when can we help our communities. First and foremost, my name is Joel Kipkori Ruto. I'm born again, Christian. I am from Salawa, the former Salawa division, Kimoso sublocation. I am a father, and I'm married. My education level, I attended my primary school in Kimoso Primary School, and later joined Getindui Primary, which I did my KCB. I later joined Hayebo High School, and I joined Mo University, which I pursue a degree in business management, procurement and option. I later joined Nairobi University, which I did masters in business administration, strategic management option. And I am here today to say I am ready and much available to help the people of my community in terms of project implementation and also meeting the needs of our people. I am a candidate, as you have said earlier, filing this position for MCA in Chama cha Mashinani, CCM ticket. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you for keeping time. I think you exited by about 10 seconds, and that is quite commendable, and you've covered much of the areas that your colleague had left out. Now, to our first question, and this one you will direct it to Mr. Joel Ruto, because Mheshimiwa Ernest had the advantage of beginning with the introduction. So to you, Joel, what is your understanding on the role of the MCA in the county budget process? What is your understanding of the role of an MCA in the county budget process?
There are major three roles of an MCA. One is oversight, two, implementation, rather representation of the people. And to your question, that deals about the oversight process, which is an executive role. And budget is a wide area, which needs process. The process for budget should involve the whole stakeholders, especially the people at Mashinani. I understand the role of an MCA is not necessarily to be at the office, but actually to bring the reality on budget process to the people. And this is through inclusivity leadership. When we have inclusivity, the process of budgeting becomes easier, and also implementation process becomes quite well okay to the people. Thank you.
Asante sana. And maybe to my colleague, do you have a follow-up question before I go to Mheshimiwa Ernest? Okay, so to you, Ernest, you have an opportunity to maybe saidia audience to understand your perspective on the role of an MCA in the county budget making process. And then maybe if you feel like you want to use Kiswahili pia, ni sawa. We are okay with that. Tunaweza changanya lugha pia for ease of communication. Asante.
Thank you so much.
You can use the other mic.
Thank you so much, SK. The county budget making process is a big process. MCAs have their roles. When we talk about roles for MCA, we have basically three key roles. There is legislation, there is representation, and there is oversight. We want to marry the three roles to the budget making process. We know the budget making process involves, there are so many stages. basically the budget making process is driven majorly by the executive, but the MCS will have a role of at the assembly to just engage and pass the budget, because the budget document must have this legislation. It must go through the assembly. That is the role of the assembly, to approve the budget. So when we are engaging in we have the document being taken through stages. We even have the public participation. The budget making process is people-driven process where the executive will develop the ceilings, then we submit the same document to the public, then the public will participate, they will give their views, and now it informs the needs of the people, and the MCS will be almost at the tail end. We will pass the budget, and finally it's assented to by the governor. So we have almost like the MCS are part and parcel of the process. In representation, we also listen to the views. When we are going around in public parazas, we take views, and MCS will always give their views when they are contributing. In the assembly, we have a committee, that is a budget committee, that works hand in hand with the executive budget team. So it is a process, and it is, we as the MCS majorly are from the people's side. So whatever the people decide on the budget making process, we follow it up. On the other side, it is also on the implementation. We know the role of implementation is from the executive, but we also oversight to make sure that whatever the people put in paper or the views of the people were accommodated. We've had instances where we also have private members' intervention. We've had petitions from interested groups as they position themselves for resource allocation. MCS will always be in the forefront to make sure that those petitions are listened to, they are well presented. If I'm the MC of Kabarnet and there's a petition from PWDs from Kabarnet, I'll make sure that I make a presentation at the budget making committee so that those views can be captured.
Thank you.
Those are just to mention a few.
Okay, thank you. With the time that you've taken, maybe I can go back to Joel Ruto. What budget making process iko na stages kadhaa. Sijui kama unajua hizo stages and at what point MCA yako involved. Bwana Joel.
I believe, yeah, there are several stages in.
How many are they?
There are 3. No, 7. Seven.
Are you able to tell us those 7 stages?
And I will try my best. But 1 is coming up with a need, having a committee. 2 is after the need of the people, you now see you also give you have a time frame. You have the resources. You identify the resources, the source of the resources, and now you come up with now the need of the people. If now it's about like for the case of this day, you had a budget for this event, but before coming with the event, you have a need, and the need is coming up with MCS to debate on the needs of the people. So after coming up with the needs, the budget, the resources, now implementation is the last stage.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe I can throw the same question to Mheshimiwa.
Now, sorry.
You still have something to say about the stages?
Yes.
Okay, finish, please.
I want to say that budget is a tedious process, but MCS should also be involved in all the process of of the budget. The reason why I'm saying that is because they are policy makers. Any policy made in any budget have an impact, either positive or negative impact to the people, which it is necessary for us as a county government to have our MCAs being involved in all this process. But one of the challenge in budget making or budget process is audit, which is a very big problem, because we have an external auditors not being influenced by native parties. We would have a clean environment, especially in budget implementation process. So that is what I can say.
Thank you. Maybe to Mheshimiwa Ernest Kibet, the various stages for budget making process. Are you aware of them, and at what point do you feel the MCA is highly involved?
Thank you so much, SK. We know a budget is something that it's a big thing. We know it is counties operate on a budget. The first stage, we have two stages of budget. We have the long-term budget process. We talk about the CIDP. That is the County Integrated Development Plan. That a budget is a plan. So that is where we pull needs, like what do we want to do in Baringo for the next 5 years. So a CIDP comes in place. Then we cascade down to annual development plan. That is when now we become more practical, a wish list of what we can do in Baringo. Now we come to ADP. It is the time when we are exposed to the budget allocation. That is when the National Treasury will say Baringo is going to get maybe 5 billion. And then now we become more particular. We start our planning. And that is the most critical stage, because that is when we narrow down from the wish list to now priority list. And we start, like, for example, in 2017, our budget making process was informed by the governor then, as his theme was water margin pay. So it was like, it is the big thing that informs the budget making process. So that is where now we are told the governor or the executive will come with ceilings, and then they will tell us for water we want to do this much, and this is the budget allocation. That is when now we start. Then we start the process of engaging. Our constitution has put in place public participation on budget making process. So we will engage we start with the CIDP, we engage wananchi, they give us the input, then we narrow down, we come back to wananchi. In these two processes, in the process, we have the executive perform functions and the assembly. So whenever the executive release the ceilings and subject the same document to the public, we as the assembly, we complement, we also come up with a schedule to engage wananchi on how are we going to put in place their ideas. So it is a process that the assembly and the executive must work hand in hand as they pursue this budget making process.
Thank you. I think your time is up as well. So I'll let my colleague Tom know to go into the second question, and maybe during the break we'll also ask the Mwananchi if they understand the budget making process, and so that we can compare. So Phil, take the next question.
Okay, thank you, SK. Thank you, candidates, for the appearance and again for offering yourself for this position. My question is just a follow-up of what we have raised, and I'll ask Mheshimiwa Joel Ruto. We have actually tried to enumerate the process of budget making. which there is formulation stage, and I think Mheshimiwa has talked about the CIDP and the ADP. There is approval, which is validation by the assembly and also public participation. There is implementation, which is the actual delivery of services or the projects by the county government. And there is evaluation, which is normally audit by the Office of the Auditor General. My question then would be, if we have understood the process of budget making, if you are elected as a member of the county assembly, how will you as an individual MCA facilitate the participation of your electorates in the budget making process in those stages, bearing in mind the formulation of the budget, the approval, the implementation, and the audit? Just you as an individual, to make sure that that mama mboga, that person with disability, that person who is there in Kimoso, and Orok were there, and Kiboino there, and Bundeni here, will participate effectively in those processes. Just your thoughts.
Thank you very much. It's true, for the previous time, it has been, or the members of the public has been participating in public participation, which is part of budget implementation process. But the issue is, how effective has it been? Because so many projects has been stalled, so many projects has not been implemented. As an MCA, if elected, which I believe by God's grace, I will involve the members of the public from the beginning. One is planning, which is not part of them. But now, the issue of after planning about budget, the need of the people is key to implementation. If you identify the need of the people, of which the people should identify their needs, not as an MCA. The people should be able to tell you what they need at what time. Because budget needs resources, and we have limited resources. But when you involve the people from initial stages, you'll have a cohesive environment on implementing such budget. For example, I want to say I've been participating in public participation for quite some time, but the process has not been effective. One, you can imagine Mama Mboga coming all the way from Jesongo to Kabarnet, using all her resources, no lunch, no transport, nothing. Then goes back, the budget is being passed, or maybe she participates, but the next thing, the budget goes for another 3 years. Or when it comes, a different project is done. There is no communication, there is no way forward, and there was a public participation. So I believe when you identify the need of the people by going to Mashinani, after getting the need, the people, because you are representing the people, you represent the people now in the budget process. Letting the executive that this is what my people need at this time, and this is what we have. Then now, according to the budget, say 5 million was budgeted. You now come back and sit down with the people. And let the people own the process. Let the people own the budget. Have PQs, have quotations, and convince them so that we have accountability and transparency. That's what I believe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. I'll take the same question to our sitting MCA, and probably you will be addressing yourself to how better you will do if given another chance.
Thank you so much. I'll talk more about the formulation process I think for me, my experience has been that the way we are approaching the formulation of the budget has really let us down. The first experience, 2013, 2017, we had a good experience of more of flagship projects. And it was because I think the formulation process was a little bit concerned about achieving bigger projects. In the second experience, 2017, 2022, we started a process where we focused on small projects. And when we look at the value, money value for projects, we can clearly see that when we mutilate projects, we will not achieve the intended goal. Like when we talk about water issue in Kabarnet, we've done so many small projects, but the impact is almost zero because we were not able to allocate funds to the big project like Kirdam that needs more funds. And my intervention will be to engage the governorship because they are the ones that play a bigger role, that we need now to change this model. We need to inform Wananchi. What is bedeviling us now is projects that are not completed. Not because Wananchi was wrong. All projects are generated from Wananchi, but because they did not have the right information on how much money. So most of the projects are undervalued, hence incomplete. And that needs a serious concerted effort from the legislation and the executive. On approvals, I can tell you we don't have a problem on approvals because in Baringo, we've always made sure, like being the MCS, all the projects, because approvals are also guided by timelines. So when we are doing the budget process, it is based on a time. You are told you must have this at this time, and it is driven that way. So the approval, but the key thing is what you are approving. Is it practical? Is it achievable? And I think we've had so much at play. Personally, I came into this leadership through an independent party, and I had so much reservations most of the times when we are doing approvals because for me, I was not even in the committee of budget or those influential leadership positions that I felt like I would have really given a more information, more adjustments. But this time around, I decided that I'm going for party politics because I want to be in the midst of leadership so that we can really get into explaining the real issues. Maybe on implementation is a big problem. Most of the projects, there is still a big discrepancy. Like the administration, those are the link, but you will find MCS occupying that position. They are occupying a position that is not theirs. We should not be the ones, we cannot be approving. At the same time, we are in the villages pushing the implementers. So I think that's an issue. Audit, personally, being, when we went to the assembly, being an independent, we were pushed to the Public Accounts Committee. So basically, this is an area that I have a lot of information. I was able to transfer the entire Baringo. I can tell you each and every project and what are the problems that are bedeviling those projects. So audit is an area that it is undertaken internally and externally. We have the National Audit Office and we have those reports. We did ourselves so many reports, but acting on those reports is another problem. So I believe that I will have a lot of influence when it comes to looking at the audit process and assisting the government to implement projects.
Okay, thank you, Mheshimiwa. I'll hand over to SK for another round of questions.
Thank you. I think we'll shift the gears kidogo. We'll go to, Joel, you seem to have a concern. Maybe you can raise.
Yes, I have something of concern.
Yeah.
I believe when you are approving a budget, or when budget approval, it means that the resources are already, after you have identified the resources. The issue of implementation and approval is one thing. Implementation is just implementing the project which has been budgeted already. And approving is the same thing. So you cannot approve a budget without resources. That's an area we need to understand clearly. Because when you approve a budget, the resources are already there because you had already planned for it.
And so, maybe again to you, Joel, who approves the budget, the county budget?
The MCS.
The MCS.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, we move to a different area. You can see on the banner up there to the audience, it is a community conversation which has culminated into a debate. And during these conversations, tunahitaji uwajibikaji mashinani. Na before we arrived here, there were conversations on the ground. The organizing committee, through the partners, managed to engage the various stakeholders. Among them are the matatu operators, mama mbogas, wenye wako sokoni, and all the stakeholders really. And mine is to highlight a concern raised by the matatu operators. They are saying that there's a very high cost of taxation in major towns, and in this case we have Kabarnet being one of the biggest town in Baringo and the headquarters, and these are the major towns within the county. Baringo has 6 constituencies, each of them has a major town, and they're saying they are charged in every town, and they see it as a double taxation. As an MCA, you are in charge of the law, or rather the lowest unit of the government, that is the ward. What do you make of this, and what do you think should be the solution to reducing or maybe to cushioning the matatu operators so that they don't feel overtaxed and at the same time support the economy of the county? Maybe I shoot it to you, Mheshimiwa Ernest Kibet.
Thank you, SK. County will always want to raise revenue. What we are talking about the budget, we are talking about resources. And these resources, we have to get the resources from the stakeholders. I agree that we have a gray area on matters taxation. We have jurisdiction. We have, like, for example, when you are operating in Kabarnet or in Baringo, and your taxes are being levied, we've had a problem where people would want to pay, or the government creates those levels of or sections of taxes, and in application, I think where we have a problem is application. Because, for example, if you have a matatu and you have taken your license, you have paid, you will realize that people will always create obstacles, and they end up, because of lack of understanding the way tax is applicable. The law is very clear. You should not tax somebody twice. If you are moving commodities, for example, if you're transporting, once I pay for a tax, in Baringo, I should be able to share the same certificate all the way to the national. Because the pass is one. You know, when you do a tax, a double tax, you are hurting the mwananchi. And I think it's just because of ignorance of the law. Those are issues we've been highlighting. Another issue that has been raised by the matatu operators is the exorbitant. Now, you know, a county is given a target. And the county, for their own, to achieve targets, you will find them targeting the soft targets. And I think matatu industry has been a soft target because it is, you see, those are the people you easily access. But I want to tell you that personally, I've been agitating for us to look for other areas of revenue collection. We have a serious area we can target. We have the tourism sector. We have the business sector where people are operating businesses without licenses. Instead of abandoning those who are already submitting, we should look at reducing the amount we are charging them. There are many ways they are being taxed. They are taxed to own the office. They are taxed to operate the matatu. They are taxed. So these taxes are in layers. So we can do away with other, so that we have a one-stop tax perspective. And that makes more sense. So I think that's an issue. It is more technical. It needs a serious leadership intervention.
Thank you. And to you, Joel, the issue of matatu operators and the double taxation. What do you make of it, and what do you think should be done?
Thank you for the question. I want to believe that the matatu operators have been complaining. Yes, I've been also using the matatu, and the issue is not about. It's about inclusivity. We have not engaged them. Engaging them in the taxation process. For example, you need to engage them and educate them on why they need to pay such an amount of money and why, and the reasons why. They are using we have the town to be clean. We need systems which are working. We need a clean and conducive environment. We need to educate them and tell them, or make sure that they have the knowledge by passing the right information. Two, by giving them a chance to speak. So when we engage them, we don't have such cases. So to me, it's an easy thing. But the issue of double taxation, I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem to the county government. Although it's my first time getting that or to hear such a complaint, because you cannot tax mwananchi twice. That's wrong. Even according to the taxation laws, it's very wrong. So I believe, to me, we need to see the areas or the reason of complaint. If it is the issue of licensing, I don't think you can charge them today and then tomorrow. Or I was thinking in my mind and I see, like, is it possible we have county government of Baringo taxing them, then when they pass through Elgeyo Marakwet, they have another license? Or what is it about, this double taxation?
What they are saying is they may pay for maybe the tax in Kabarnet.
Yes.
But if the matatu is plying Kabarnet Ravine,
yes,
wakifika pale bado wanalipa.
Okay.
I believe there are some daily charges that they get to be surcharged.
Yes.
So I believe that is what they are saying as the operators.
All right. I think that is something that we need to talk to say about, because it should actually go to the national level, because we are moving around the country. So if this is something that is affecting them, we need to engage other counties. For example, if they pay the taxation fee, it should be once. It should be once. Unless other goods, for example, animals, because that is what has been affecting the transportation sector. So I think, to me, if we have a system for communication, it will also help them. I've been in the Baringo County Hospital for quite some time. I've been taking some patients there, and I've also gone there, and I have experienced a problem. In most cases, I've experienced this twice. When you want to take the medicine, somebody can tell you, just give me 500. You are supposed to pay 1,000. Somebody tells you, give me this 500, nakupatia medicine. Or mambo ya laboratory. You find that we are ourselves engaging ourselves in wrongdoing. So I want to believe that the staff working there is lack of integrity issue. So also the double payment we are experiencing is because of integrity issues, which we need to check about.
Okay, yeah.
I think the county government can also consider that, because it is an integrity issue.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. And looks like...
Thank you. I think there are some things we might be able to understand more when we listen to the operators. I think the issue really is, for example, if you are in Kabarnet, you have paid, there is a way you pay for, like, some of them are operating as SACCOs. And if they pay here for the county, when they reach Marigat, there is another layer of request to pay. And that is why I say it is implementation issue, people not understanding why the tax should be applied. Because now I cannot pay a tax in Kabarnet, I go to Kabartoncho, I pay another tax, and I go to Marigat, I pay another tax. The reasoning is, the employees are also put on a delivery. They are also tasked to deliver. So employees might be miscoordinating themselves. So someone in Marigat is saying, no, I must collect my tax here, and they end up suffering. And I think there was a time, because some of these taxes also, we pass them through a finance bill, and it's also a public participation exercise. So there has been incidences where people will get tired so easily. When we go to public participation, people don't have a keen eye on those specific things, because when you look at them, they have passed them. Most of these people who are here have appended their signatures, and they have said the Matatu should pay this much. I remember at some point the border operators were able to pressurize the government, and the government were able to shell a certain tax. So these are issues that we need to have a clear purpose vision for all, so that we don't overburden a certain section of people because we think they have more money. I think that is what the Matatu industry is suffering from. They are being targeted because someone looks at the vehicle and they see at the fare being charged, and they say the Matatu is making 10,000, but the Matatu is making 10,000, but fueling at 3,000 and maybe maintaining at 3,000, but a motorbike would be making 1,000, but maintaining at 100 shillings. So those are variables that we need to look into, and that's why I said it's a more technical issue. It needs serious intervention from all the stakeholders.
Taken much time there, so we hope we will get to balance that with an opportunity for you to respond to an issue that will be coming up. We are almost taking a break. We are about half an hour into this conversation, and maybe for those who are watching online, we give you an opportunity to ask your questions. Drop it on the comment section. We are live on Baringo News, we are live on Ravine News, and the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance pages. So take your time, give your question. You are hearing, or rather you will ask with regards to what the MCAs, aspirants, or rather the candidates are already answering regarding the budget implementation process and their understanding on the same. There's also the issue of Matatu that has been raised. If you have an issue that you feel it needs to be addressed within the Kabarnet ward, you can also drop it on the comment section. we will be here to, Janet will be here to populate them and give us those questions. And before we go out on a break, there is one question from a member of the public. Maybe you can read out.
Yes, there is one question from Joel Plagat, who is watching us from Luthuli Avenue in Nairobi. And he is asking, what are the plans of these aspiring candidates in pushing for the completion of stagnated Kabarnet Stadium? What are the plans of these aspiring candidates in pushing for the completion of stagnated Kabarnet Stadium?
Yeah, so we'll direct that to Joel Ruto. You can take it first. What would be your role in ensuring that we have a complete stadium? It has stagnated for too long.
Thank you very much. That's a very smart question. I believe completion of projects in Baringo County is one of the biggest problem. Implementation process is at 100%. I want to say so, because they have been implementing projects all over. But now the completion of projects is a key issue. For my case, I did my thesis in sustainability of county government projects. Sustaining the projects has been a problem. And one of the key, or one of the projects is Kabarnet Stadium. One of the contributing factors of these projects is conflict of interest. Two, corruption. It's not about finance. It's not about resources. It's about conflict of interest. Two, it's about corruption. When you see Kabarnet Stadium and the much resources which have been used, it tells us a lot of things to think about. And for my case, if elected to be an MCA, one of the key issues which I'm going to implement is about transparency and accountability of resources. To see, should have information of all projects. Why don't we let the public know how much has been used and how much was allocated and what is the time duration and who is the contractor and who should do what? We have been having conflicts of such projects. Recently we had a problem, people complaining of roads and etc. Why is it that PQs are a problem to the people? People are not accessing PQs and quotations.
Maybe, Joel, you can go directly and give your strategies on how you will sort out the issue of Kabarnet Stadium. I think that is a question that the person who's watching is interested in.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Kabarnet Stadium being a major, it's a mega project. It needs a lot of resources. Two, it involves so many stakeholders. And for my case, I will look for partnerships, foreign partnerships, institutions of goodwill who can partner with the county government through youth programs, especially in terms of sports management, and we have a completion of the stadium.
Thank you.
Partnerships.
Thank you. And to you, Mheshimiwa Ernest Kibet.
Thank you so much, SK. Kabarnet Stadium is a big issue in Baringo. What we know is there is good intention. The government has a plan to build a stadium. On the big real issue is the resources. People have been talking about mismanagement and all these things, but government is not just like a social gathering. It's based on record, based on evaluation, based on audits. What we have is underfunding. There was good intention by the first governor to have a stadium in Kabarnet, but the allocation, it was a phased project. What bedeviled the stadium is immediately there was a regime change. There was abandonment of the project. And that is what I'm seeing. We have to be very cautious so that we look at, evaluate what the regime has. We should, as regimes, we should know the projects belong to the people, not the regimes, so that we don't abandon the projects. So my plan, being the MCA at the moment, I know exactly what we need. This is a mega project. The initial plan was at the cost of almost upward to 900 million. That is what we can achieve. You know, you cannot talk about 10 million and you say you want to achieve a stadium. That's a playing field. That's what we have now. It's just a simple playing field. But personally, I'm subscribing to a party that we were able to unveil a manifesto. And that is the main reason why I subjected myself to a nomination process so that I can escalate this project to the national level. We need national funding. Baringo, with its resources, will not achieve. They've been allocating 10 million. So if you need 900 million, you will need 90 years. We will all be ancestors. So personally, I'm taking this matter to my party post. We are putting this one as one key negotiable item on the table on the share of the national cake. So the stadium is number one, the university is number two.
Thank you, Ernest, for taking your time. Do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, follow-up question, and that goes very fast now that you have that the members of public have brought the word resource envelope. And I hope you guys are aware that the county government is allocating some money to every ward every year for purposes of development. And the issues and the priorities of the people are set up during public participation. What are your thoughts? And I'll start from Ruto about the ward development. Okay, people call ward development fund, but it's actually a set of money set by the executive to go to every ward for purposes of delivering service delivery or improving some projects. What are your, on a snapshot, what do you think is working, is not working, that you want to come and fix through the implementation or the oversight of the ward development fund?
Thank you. What is not working is inclusivity. That is one key. We have not been involving all the stakeholders, especially those at mashinani. Two is accountability of these resources. Three, the process of disbursement of these resources. We have not been enlightened on such issues. So, like for example, a project, after public participation, a project comes. We have not seen any project, especially from where I come, where the MC has come clearly and say, this was the budget which was approved, and this is the project we have done to this level, this is the match we have used, and this is what has remained. And this has been remaining in public domain for quite some time. So what am I saying? We are saying accountability of resources is a problem. Two is involving, that is inclusivity of these projects. We have not involving the public on these projects. And also the process of disbursement of this money.
Okay, what are you going to do as the MCA, if elected, to sort out accountability issues, inclusivity issues, and disbursement?
One is ownership. Let the people own the project by including them in the whole process. Let them own the project, not the MCA or the executive. Let the people own the project. Give them the available information, like the documents. Let them avail themselves. Let them know this is our project and these are our resources, and they plan.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, I'll also take the same question to you. Very fast. What do you think has been working on the resource envelope? What is not working? How do you do it better?
Thank you so much. I think for me, I have that the opportunity that I've had the real experience. And I can tell you it is a serious comedy. It's a serious, there's a lot of when we are doing project implementation, we have key players. We have a contractor. You know, government business is delivered by a contractor. We have committees, the people themselves. We have now the oversighting committee. We have a shared role in oversighting. We have the committee and we have the MCA. Now we have the implementer, the supervisor, we have the administrator. So what our experience is, we are facing challenges due to their delays, maybe on implementation, the procurement process. You know, once you do a budget, there is a procurement process, then there is award, then there is a contractor. We've been pushing for people to be given contracts, everybody, even the youth and everybody. Like in my work currently, I'm pursuing some contracts which have been given to people who have no resources. So they end up abandoning the process. There are projects we've cancelled 2 or 3 times. And you know, once you cancel a project, it takes a whole year again for you to generate the process. So what we've seen is we need to capacitate committees. Committees have had a challenge because some of the committees, they will get the role without understanding what they are supposed to do. They end up becoming another problem in the project. So for me, the far we are heading to, devolution is a growing process. Accountability must be enhanced. We must be able to take everybody to account. The duration of project implementation. We've had people writing letters. If you are to go to the office, you will find, if you ask as the MCA, why is this project? Then they say the person who was doing it has requested for an extension of the duration. So for me personally, I will go back to how we are formulating these projects. Another delay is underfunding of a project. You have a project, but the funds you've been given is not enough. And you know, Mwananchi will always budget. You will hear, when you go to this, the Mwananchi, they will tell you, no, you see, this is a project we love. We don't care. We will allocate 500 this time. Tomorrow we will allocate 500 and the many years. But you know, a project is something that will encounter wear and tear. So that is why you will see some projects, they look like they are abandoned, but they are not abandoned. They were allocated less money, and now the wear and tear process comes into play. Another issue that, for me, people must understand. When projects are being implemented, they are being implemented by contractors. These are business people. And I think that is where there is a lot of conflict. So Mwananchi, at some point, the activists or those who are trying to pursue the direction of implementation will say, this money, unajua hii pesa imekuliwa. But the contractor is there for business. And if you mingle with the contractor at times even compromises the committee. And all these are challenges that I think going forward, we must look into to achieve the very best for the people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joel, you seem to have something to say?
Yeah. I want to believe that among us, we have been participating in public participation. And information is key. Information about resources we have been allocated is key. And we need to tell the people that we have not been having clear information on our resources. 2, it is not about public participation. Public participation has been taking place. But the key issue is accountability of such resources. The process of disbursement of these resources. 2, it is about inclusive leadership. Our public participation have been becoming a rubber stamp of these projects. It is not about the minimal resources. When you engage the people will be able to tell you, this is what we need. Now, as an MCA, you need to think twice. Yes, this is the project, and it is a priority to the people. If it's a matter of priority, you now go back to the county government, now the governor. Because you are representing the people, you represent them fully. And now engage the governor on how to get other resources on how to complete such a project of priority. So we need to have priorities of projects. It's not just the public participation, because it has been becoming a rubber stamp. It is becoming an issue. It's becoming an issue. Because all those who have been participating in public participation have been completing an example. I don't know the process on how these funds have been being disbursed. The issue is accountability, inclusive leadership, and representation of the people. Let the people own the projects. Let them have the necessary documents. Because we have been, the issue of contractors is conflict of interest. Let us speak the truth and let the people know. It's about conflict of interest. We have cartels owning these projects. And our MCAs and other executive officers have been involved. Let them tell the people the truth. It's not about resources. It's about integrity issue. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think we believe we've given you enough time to cover the time that you may have spared in the previous questions. And right about now, we are going to take a break, so that when we come back, we will give an opportunity to the audience who are with us here to ask a question, and we will sample them when we come back. So don't feel that you've been left out, because you are with us here. And maybe back to those who are watching us online, you should be able to have your questions be considered to be asked on this platform. So take your time to ask on the comment section. Remember, this program is brought to you by the various partners who have come together to organize this debate, led by the community, of course, through the Civil Society Organization Forum, that is BACSOF, and led by, or also in partnership with the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance. We also have Danida, Uraia, and of course us, Baringo News team here, who are giving you the coverage live on your screens. We are grateful for the 30 minutes or so that we've had. We'll take a break. Don't leave the conversation. We'll be back and we will continue with the remaining 4 questions. And for the public as well, we'll also pick a number of them, or a number of the questions from them. Thank you, and keep it there. See you in a moment.
Zuru Baringo is a virtual tour to Baringo County, the land of 1,000 scenic views. This segment is brought to you by the Lake Bogoria Group of Hotels, led by the Lake Bogoria Spa and Resort in Marakwet, and the Rift Valley Hills Resort in Kabarnet, Baringo County. Karibu Baringo.
Majina yangu naitwa Praxidi Siagola Ouma. Mimi ni mkaji wa Malanga, Masievi area. Mimi nina watoto 4. Niko na mume. Mtoto wa kwanza ako form 2, wa pili class 7, wa tatu 4, wa 4 2. Mzigo niliobeba ni 5.
Article 43 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 guarantees every person the highest attainable standard of health, which includes the right to healthcare services, including reproductive health care. In Kenya, dispensaries make up about 76% of all public facilities and are a critical piece in the healthcare system because they provide essential healthcare at community level. Malanga Dispensary in Busia County is one such facility. However, it is unable to meet the demand for various services, forcing area residents to seek medical assistance far off. In particular, the case of reproductive health care comes to the fore.
Hasa sisi kama wamama wajawazito, unaweza patwa na uchungu kwa kawaida mama kujifungua na hauna mkunga karibu. Na sasa ukikuja hapa, labda daktari hawana manyumba zao, wenye ukikuja maternity, itakubidi uvumilie uende na mbali.
The supply of drugs is not adequate because sometimes we get drugs that are very essential, especially this area being a malaria endemic area. We have so many patients having malaria. There is a shortage of drugs, especially the essential drugs which are needed in a dispensary. They are not being supplied adequately.
The dispensary would have been able to offer reproductive health care services and other essential services had there been effective consultation at the onset of devolution. However, the facility compound has a number of stalled projects that include a maternity wing. This is due to lack of proper consultation and inadequate allocation of resources towards completion of existing projects.
Ile ni maternity wing ilijengwa na CDF na wakati county ilikuja haikukonsult. Sasa kuna vitu yote mbili haitusaidii na imekula pesa. Hii haifanyi kazi, hiyo haiendelei na pesa zimemwagika pale.
There is incinerator here and it's not complete. So when you look at what these facilities have, and those are great ideas, are just what we are trying to now see how to fit in with the resources from the county government.
The round 1 of devolution, most people had really not understand various roles. Every MCA wanted to have this milestone of just bringing up projects and buildings, and to them it was brick and mortar. That is what could show that actually they're working. But there was not enough consultation between the department and them. The project was there previously, maybe by CDF or started by somebody else, but it's never finished. You end up starting another project. The people in that area are really not getting even the service they're supposed to be getting, because we have elephant projects there that are not finished and they cannot be used.
Lack of public participation, particularly in prioritization in the budget-making process, gave politicians autonomy on how development funds were used. This was occasioned by lack of capacity at community level to engage the county government in identifying and budgeting for the priorities.
We don't have enough capacity at the community level in terms of public participation to really critically analyze and interrogate budgets. And communities have abdicated their role and left it to politicians to play around with their budgets. No wonder sometimes we get very skewed implementation of projects, because this could come to the advantage of the politician instead of to the advantage of the general voter.
It is for this reason that the International Budget Partnership Kenya, in partnership with Community Empowerment Development Center CEDC, developed a model that incorporates budget champions, individuals trained to understand the budgeting process and competently deliberate on budget issues affecting their community.
Hatukuwa na ufahamu miradi ambazo zilikuwa zinaendelea kwa area yetu, wa ward yetu, na kwa county as a whole. Kwa hivyo hii ilifanya nijiunge na CDC, nifunzwe vile ya kuwa budget champion, kufuatilia budget process ya county and national.
For me, success in fact will be if they engage that third tier. If budget champions now in their communities are engaging with those community members, we will have big move in capacity building.
Understanding budgets and engaging in the budget process through public participation is already making a positive impact on projects prioritized further down at the ward level.
But through their lobbying, those budget cafes, those meetings at the community level, we have seen the MCA come on board. Through the efforts of SIDEC, we have seen that community in Malanga is going to benefit, because the maternities, I know the 8 million that has been allocated, we show it's going to finish that maternity.
When I reported here, there were so many stalled buildings, and through the working hand in hand with SIDEC, we were able to meet the Chief Officer of Health and also the County Assembly, and they allocated some funds for this facility. So we are praying that those funds that have been allocated, they'll do some marvelous job on the ground.
Although the maternity wing at the dispensary may not be ready for Praxidis with her current pregnancy, mothers like her will soon enjoy quality healthcare at their doorstep, thanks to efforts being made by the budget champions and the rest of the community.
Saa hii mimi ni mjamzito. Mara mingi tunapokuja hapa daktari wanasema tujisifungulie nyumbani, tukuje hospitali. Na hospitali niko nayo karibu ni hapa Malanga. Ningependa kuja hapa usiku, hata nikipatwa na uchungu na nikuja hapa usiku, daktari akuwe anihudumie. Akishanihudumia, hata nikiwa na shida ingine kitokezea nitibiwe. Nikienda nyumbani niwe salama. Hata mtoto akikuja akiwa hali mbaya, kwa sababu ukikuja hapa haukuangi na pesa ingine ya kuenda na mbali ama ya kuenda Busia. Wao wanatuhudumia vizuri, tunapata madawa ya kutosha, tunatibu watoto wetu, ama sisi wenyewe pia tunajitibu, tunaenda nyumbani.
Kwa majina ninaitwa Rongai.
Liakwara. Mimi natoka Eldume sub location, Elchamus location, Elchamus ward, Marigat. Nafanya kazi ya community. Mimi ni budget champion.
The Constitution of Kenya came into effect in 2010 and it introduced devolution which opened new avenues for citizens to participate in the budget-making process, allowing them to have a bigger say in the prioritization of their needs. A major part of these reforms were related to how resources reach the most marginalized areas and communities. The Elchamus community is one of the smallest ethnic groups in Kenya that over the years has become increasingly vulnerable as a consequence of economic marginalization that stems from government policy that has neglected the arid and semi-arid lands which Baringo County is part of. In Elchamus ward, Baringo County, public participation has recorded tremendous improvement after local civil society organizations that came together to leverage on collective effort.
We didn't have structures for citizens' engagement. We didn't have accountability mechanisms of government to its own people. We had also very low citizens' understanding of governance. We realized it was very critical. The first engagement that we committed ourselves as Baringo Civil Society Forum was to mobilize communities to engage with the government in the budget process and the planning process.
Notably, Rongai Leakwara, a woman living in a predominantly patriarchal society, is a budget champion who has been trained and exposed to the planning and budgeting process and has been instrumental in engaging with the county government and other actors on behalf of the community. Rongai, who is also living with a disability, has defied odds to continue championing for the rights of her community.
Tolea kusaidia jamii kwa mambo ya bajeti. Kila wakati tulikuwa tukilaumu MCA hajatufanyia kitu, MCA hajatuambia kitu. Nikakuja pia kujua kwamba kuna kitu inaitwa public participation. Sikuwa najua. Na wakati nilielewa bajeti na nilielewa kwa nini inawekwa bajeti, na nikaanza kujitolea kusaidia community yetu, pia niweze kuelimisha waweze kuelewa bajeti ni nini, na miradi zetu nyingi zimesimama kwa sababu sisi hatufuatili.
Naona vitu ikianza kusonga. Hapo mbeleni tulikuwa gisa, hatukuwa tukielewa vile vitu inaenda, sababu wakati wanaitisha public participation tulikuwa tukiona kama ni ya maana, lakini leo hii tumejua umuhimu ya kufika pale na kusema hii iwekwe na kusema hii isiwekwe.
For a community that was not aware about the provisions for them to engage in the budget process, participating in the budget process has become an active part of their lives. This has been driven by the understanding that their participation makes a difference.
Hapo awali na sasa kuna utofauti kubwa sana, kwa sababu watu hawakujua kwamba serikali wanasahusika kwa serikali ama wanasafaidika kwa serikali. Ilikuwa wanafikiri serikali ni ya watu wengine.
The citizens who are budgeting for these projects, everything comes from the people. And then from the people it comes to the assembly. And then from the assembly it goes to the budget.
International Budget Partnership Kenya, IBP, in partnership with Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance, is facilitating citizens through budget champions to steer a budget process.
So I believe when we are going live, tutakuwa sawa. So to the technical team, when we are ready, you tell us. I take over the program. We are good. So welcome back to the conversation. This is the Kabarnet Ward MCA's debate, and it is brought to you by the community, of course, in partnership with the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance, also in partnership with the Civil Societies Forum in Baringo County, that is Baksof, Uraia, and Danida. All this is with the objective of building an informed community as we head towards the general election in August. And the theme for this debate is to promote value-based leadership through a free and fair, democratic and peaceful elections in Baringo County. That is the theme and of course the objective. And when we were beginning, we had various stakeholders who spoke and they gave their thoughts, or rather they gave a clarion call that we need to conduct peaceful campaigns that of course goes to the candidates, and campaigns also involving the Mwananchi who are being reached out by the various candidates on the ground. Welcome back. This is the second session. We'll have 30 minutes of questions from the panel and welcome the questions from the public. And now that we had given an opportunity to the online community to give their questions, we will give an opportunity to the audience who are here, and the microphone will go around. If you have a question, you raise your hand, and in this case, we'll try also to balance the gender. So you raise your hand, Janet will give you the microphone, and there's also another microphone, so the movement of the mic will be made as efficient as possible. So to the audience here, the ground is yours. We'll take about 3 questions.
Thank you so much. We'll take about 3 questions from the audience. Gender balance will be considered, and let us watch on repeating the questions. If one person asks a question, kindly do not repeat the question.
Yeah, and try to go direct to the point. So to the candidates, take note of the questions as they come, because you have an opportunity to answer them as soon as we finish the round of questions.
Okay, thank you. I'm Collins Rono from Kabarnet, doing business. So my question goes to the incoming, maybe an MCA there. So there was an issue of implementation of projects. So the MCA said that the constructor is a businessman. And I think that we are not dealing with the issue of business. We don't want to know if constructor is a business or is doing business or what. What we want to know is that what have you done in oversighting the project completion? Because you cannot tell us that somebody is a businessman. It seems that alichukua website ya serikali yenye tulikuwa tumeitengia mahali akafanyia business kwanza ndio kuja kufanya kazi. So I'm asking that what will you do in future to make sure that the constructor is totally implementing the project that we have set our money on?
Thank you Collins. Thank you.
Na pia unaweza tumia lugha ya Kiswahili ukiona labda lugha yote yenye uko comfortable nayo. Asante.
Alafu tunaomba tafadhali tusivute maswali. We go direct to the point. Give it to the
Yes. Kwa majina naitwa Walter Ola. Swali langu kwa MCA, sisi kama watu wa diaspora, wakati wa kura tunaona tunakuwa muhimu sana, lakini wakati wa kazi hatuwekwi mstari ya mbele. Ya pili, security. Sai mnaweza tuomba kura kama watu wa diaspora, but hakuna mtu yeyote amekuja kwa sisi atuambie security yetu itakuwa namna gani. Hiyo tunataka tujibiwe hiyo.
Asante. Maybe a clarification to the person who's asking the question. Ukisema security, ni security kwa kivipi? Security kivipi?
Security na specify kwa security vile watu wa diaspora wenye wako kwa hii town. Their security.
Is it during the elections ama wakati wowote ule?
Wakati wowote, even during election.
Asante.
Give it to be what?
Okay, my name is Isaiah Biot. I'm a human rights defender. I have 2 questions. The first one is on the issue of here in Kabarnet. You know, it's the underlying town ile iko karibu hapa. it's expensive to travel from, to live within. So I want to ask the aspirants, if you get elected, what will you do to ensure that it's becoming cheaper for people to operate from Kipoino to Kabarnet and do and surrounding towns, because currently it's so expensive traveling and living within, so that the surrounding areas can develop. Secondly, is on the issue of cooperatives. I don't know, if you get elected, what will you do to ensure that there is a development of the cooperative sector, so that small scale business people can access loans in a cheaper way and benefit, so that they can do business in this town with ease? Thank you.
Thank you. I will take the last one from Michael, and then if you have a question, kindly put it down on paper and have it forwarded to our desk, and maybe we'll take another round of questions after the MCS have responded to this. Thank you.
Asante sana. Swali langu litakuja kwamba tuko na PWDs Kabarnet Ward ambao namba yao ni kubwa, ambayo hawaja benefit na cash transfer. Je, mtafanyaje kuongeza hiyo namba ikiwa mtachaguliwa? Ya pili, mambo ya implementation. Kwa mfano, watu wameenda public participation, PWD wametengewa kitu, alafu wale wanasuba. Je, mtafanyaje kuharakisha implementation ya mambo ya PWD? Asante, naitwa Michael Tamam, ninaishi hapo Ratabei. Mimi ni mpiga kura County Assembly. Asante.
Thank you. I think, Janet, you have the questions listed. You can, there are those that have been directed to the incumbent. Kuna zile ambazo ni general. So you can give an opportunity to Mheshimiwa Ernest. Yeah.
From Collins Rono, he asked about the question from Collins Rono, he asked about the project implementation. What have you been doing, and what are you going to do if re-elected? And to you, Bwana Ruto,
Joel Ruto,
if elected, what are you going to do on matters project implementation and completion? Thank you.
I think on Rono, he's very specific as well. Anajaribu kusema, Bwana Kibet Ernest, you've been the MCA. He's saying, don't tell us contractors are business persons. Tell us what you've done, because what he cares about is completion of the project and not people doing business and forgetting the interests of Mwananchi. So what have you been doing, and what would you do?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, SK. When we talk about project implementation, we cannot be blind to the actors and key actors, and that is what has really made Baringo get a lot of problems. When you listen to the people in the street, these contractors are not, they are people from Baringo. Their key issue is non-payment of their projects. What is happening, and that is why I will not bury my head in the sand and not talk about the key person in a project. It is the contractor. Most of these contractors will bid for even 10 projects. And most of them, they have their awards in their pockets. But they will tell you, I've done project A, I've not been paid, so I'm not doing project B. You know, that is something they will put across. So we have a challenge where we have few people ready to take up the projects and being monopolized. So we will have contractors, we have a few contractors. So my take is, for us to have success is to encourage the people of Baringo. The contractors are also sitting here. can we work for the people of Baringo? If you know you cannot manage a project, why would you go for it? Because when they are bidding, most of these projects are bidded for online. And most of the process are qualified by the system. If the system states that you award this tender to the lowest bidder, it is almost like an automatic process. And that is where we are facing a challenge. So it is when Mwananchi understands what really happens. And it is my responsibility. You know, I'm exercising leadership. And I cannot give you people issues that are not verifiable. When I talk about delays of projects because of incapacitation of contractors or delays when paying contractors, it's a real issue. So for me, what I've been doing, I've been insisting that let us clearly check on the capabilities of the contractors. Because if we issue these contracts to quacks, to people who are not ready to work, we are injuring the people of Baringo. Another thing is, when I came in as the MCA, I had a lot of issues to do with road construction. And to some extent, we had a serious look at it, and some of us opted that let us buy the machines. And it was a very serious issue. But I can tell you today, if we evaluate the work that we did using the machines that we bought, we did a lot of work because we were able now to do away with the contractor aspect, but only introduce fueling and use of the machine. So it is also another area, it has its own challenges. And we've learned from those challenges, we are going to improve them and see what is the best way forward. So as I put it, is personally, I've had the experience to do away with contractors for a certain purpose, and we've achieved a lot. In Kabarnet ward, the reason why, you know, I've gone through an election process. UDA is a serious party. And personally, I've already submitted myself to the public. The reason I was elected on UDA is because of that track record. People said, you did something in the roads. We are giving you back the mandate. And I think I'm here as a person who is ready to submit to this process. That I must be vetted, I must offer the best solutions. So for me, that is all about the contractor. People should not, you know, there's always this idea that when it is a contractor, people are chewing, man. You know, a contractor is doing business, he must make money, and it is by choice. So personally, when I also represent people who are doing business. You cannot say now, talk about us, the small people, and forget about those contractors. We must also focus and understand, do we have the right actors in this process? So that we don't just expect work to be done, and we are not bothered on who are these people who are doing the business. So that is a serious issue. It calls for leadership. It calls for practical solutions, not imaginations. Because when our governor came, he came with the idea that he was seeing some ghosts. He was seeing some ghost workers. But when we came to power, we realized they were not ghost workers. They were ECD teachers. And now people are coming here with ghosts of cartels. When you come into power, you realize they are not cartels, but they are real people doing business.
I think you've had much to say on that, and maybe it was directed to the incumbent. Do you have something, Joel, that you want to say? And maybe also to the aspirants, if you feel you have a question you want to shoot to your colleague, rather your worthy competitor, you can pass it through and we'll give you an opportunity.
Thank you. I have something to say about implementation of project and completion. One, what I will do, I will seal all the loopholes pertaining cartels. Two, conflict of interest. Three, nepotism. Four,
rigid decision-making process. And fifth, and not the least, is evaluation of contractors, extensive evaluation of contractors within Kabarnet ward. You have to evaluate the contractors. The last is making the tendering process be transparent and also have the available information concerning this the bidding process, and also involve the youth in the tendering process.
Thank you so much, Bwana Ruto. And the second question that came from the audience, it is from Walter. He is talking about the members of the diaspora. They say that they live in this town, they do business in this town, their children's school here, and they do everything here. You go to them and ask them to vote for you, and they feel like their importance ends there. Now, moving forward, if elected member of County Assembly 2022-2027, how will you involve them in other aspects of development and service delivery, implementation and public participation and all that? I will pose the question first to Bwana Ernest Kibet.
Thank you so much. We want to appreciate that Bwana Walter. You know, Kabarnet is the county headquarters, and it is a cosmopolitan town, and we are hosting all people from all over the country. I think the word diaspora came from our own definition. Politicians will always create constituents, and I think it's a creation of politicians. It's not something that's in the law. It is just convenient to say, if you are looking for votes, let me talk to people from Kabartonjo, let me talk to people from Kisumu, let me talk to people from Ravine. It is a political tool that has been used. In the process, there have been misuse of the same or misunderstandings. And personally, my background is business. I stayed in Narok for some time, and I really understand when someone talks about being maybe a diaspora person or a person doing business, but lacking of something. Maybe you are lacking of relation, you are lacking of maybe a bigger number. Actually, it's a question of numbers. So for me, I've had my own experiences. I've been one person that I've really been trying to make sure that everybody feels at home in Kabarnet. What has been a challenge is the mode of sharing the resources. You know, we have existing structures. We've had, like when we want to allocate bursary, then we say people go to their respective sub-locations. So you know, someone who might have migrated to this ward will be lost. Which sub-location do I go to? And people within town, they change. Someone is living in Kaptimbor, the next day is living in Abragonya, then it's another sub-location. Then tomorrow is living in, so, but they are voting also within town. So those are issues that we must now clearly, personally, I'm committed to interrogate, to make sure that if we really talk about these diaspora people as a political tool, then can we now come in the open and convince the majority that the minority also matter in sharing of resources? And we can equate the issue of diaspora like the BWDs. The BWDs have been able to position their stake. So I want to encourage also the diaspora people that they should not be listening to politicians secretly They should come in the open and say our vote counts, because what matters is the vote. That one vote, you know, we are 10, it's 10 votes, but one vote is equally respected in this Kenya, in this constitution. So he also talked about security issue.
Yes.
I can guarantee you that personally, I'm working very closely with the security agencies. We are listening, our ears and eyes are on the ground. If we get to know of anybody who is preaching ethnicity or all these other things, we are going to report, we are going to deal with that person. I'm also encouraging the public that if you hear of anybody giving hate speech, especially bordering on tribal, because that is where we've had problems. We cannot lie to ourselves. We've lost lives because of just belonging to another tribe. And that is not what we are going to entertain. And I belong to a party. I have a social responsibility for a party. Our party is clear. Kenya, the UDA is saying we promote peace. And that is my subscription. So nobody should worry. We will be in the lead to ensure peace and tranquility is maintained in this town.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would give a chance to Bwana Ruto to respond to the same.
Okay, thank you. One of the contributing factors is seafood education. We need to engage the stakeholders and educate our people on living cohesively. 2, about mentorship programs to our youth. These are some of the problems. Our youth have been much engaged, or they have been participating in such insecurity issues. So we need to engage them in providing or creating what you call mentorship programs to them and workshops. And we educate them on ways or the importance of living together as a community, not as a diaspora, if I can say that. 2 is creating an enabling environment. One of the things that we need to understand is that you cannot choose your neighbor. You can choose your friend, but you can't choose your neighbor. So we need to educate them and enlighten them on the needs or the importance of living together as a community. 3, about also security, is about involving all the security apparatus. We have the chiefs representing that sub-location or location. We have the Nyumba Kumi Wase. It's a process. If there is an issue, you involve from the ground or the grassroots to the top. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bwana Ruto. And on matters peace, I think today you've signed the political decency and peace charter, and this will hold you accountable on matters peace before, during, and after elections. I hope we are in agreement. Thank you. So we had another question from Isaiah Biwot. He talked about ease of travel around Kabarnet and ease of doing business. What is your take? And he also spoke about cooperatives, loans to small businesses, and how that can be availed to mwananchi wa kawaida and on affordable rates of repayment. I'll pose this question to Bwana Ruto, and then we'll finish with Bwana Kibet. Thank you.
Thank you. The issue about rates, matatu SACCOs. Engage them, talk to them, and hear from them why they are charging 100 shillings from, say, Hainamoi to Kabarnet and not 50 shillings. And also, the issue is also it's a national issue because of the increase or the high rate of fuel. So that I don't want to hide and say I am going to implement, because it's the rate or it's a global issue currently, especially contributed by fuel, rise in fuel. But I will engage the circles, managers, and the other stakeholders to see if what they are charging is fair. That is what I can promise.
On the issue of the cooperatives?
Sorry, cooperatives?
On the issue of the cooperatives, the availability of the loans to the business community.
Oh yes, sorry, I overlooked that. About availability of loans, you know, one of the problems we are facing is actually transparency of these grants and loans, the assurance. So we need to give them available information on the source of loans, the rate, and the duration. Two, are these loans viable to their business? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Bwana Kibet.
Thank you so much. The name is a little bit
Janet.
Janet.
Yes.
Thank you, Janet. I think Biwot asked a very serious issue. The cost of living is high, and is very specific on transportation. You know, transportation is one key sector. For you to access most of the services, transportation is key. We know there are so many factors that play into transportation. There is the issue of maybe if you are operating a certain route, what is the traffic and all this. That is what informs charging of fares. But mine is, I think we can address this issue from improving the cost of improving the living standards of the people. You know, for someone who is earning 100,000, affording a meal of 1,000 is cheap for that person. But for someone who is earning 1,000, affording a meal of 100 shillings is expensive. So I think what is really facing our people is the lack of resources. And myself, in my manifesto, I looked at what I promised to do, and I realized I was missing one component, and which is the most serious one, is the empowerment component. That government is seriously involved in infrastructural development. There is roads reaching villages, there is water reaching villages, but these services are not free. You must afford these services. And that is now, I looked at it and said, we must now get into the empowerment part, using the same resources of the government. And I can tell you, the cooperative movement, I'm a trailblazer. I've been able to register 10 cooperatives in all the sub-locations. And already, these people are experiencing that individual empowerment. Because if we leave, there will be a disparity. If the services will be available and the people cannot afford the services, it is not going to be value for money. So mine is more resources to cooperatives. We have the cooperatives in place. We are the latest improvement we made on these loans. We realized we've been telling people go and take loans, but we did not look at the ability for these people to pay the loans. And we say, if we are taking money to a road, and this road is not feeding the people, it could even be taking a lot of money and the people are suffering. We say, let us introduce legislation to give these people grants. These are loans that you are just given and you go without, you are given a grant, you go now and target your development as an individual. So those are the areas we are dealing with. And personally, I want to say that I'm going to enhance the cooperative. We are going to train people more so that they understand how government operates, how government can benefit them. It's not only on development. We want to share now on a 50-50 basis. Government development, infrastructure development, and personal development.
Thank you. Thank you so much, honest debate. Now to the last question that came from Michael Tamam. He asked on the issue of cash transfer, and he specifically mentioned the increment. How will you ensure that there's an increase in the amount of cash transfer to persons with disability? And on his second question is on implementation of project, the involvement of the persons with disability and completion of project and the stalled projects. What do you have to say about the stalled projects that we have? I'll start with you, Bwana Kibet.
Thank you so much, Janet. Timam is has talked about the BWDs, and I'm glad he's doing a lot of work for the BWDs. He's also a leader in that BWD sector, and have been one of the person that has been able to push for a budget allocation for BWDs. This is now the second year running that we are allocating serious money to BWDs. Kabarnet Ward is leading. And we were so purposed that we wanted them to address their needs directly. The challenge that we face is on implementation. These projects, when we allocate the money, once the BWDs have decided that they want this project to be implemented, that slow process is what is making some of them feel like their voice is not being listened to, because budgeting is okay, but implementing so that I feel the impact is more important. So for me, I will continue partnering with them. We will continue raising the stakes. We want everything to be driven by a process that is almost lawful, that if we are discussing about a budget making process, then we have figures on the table. We should be guided. If we go to a public participation, then we should have our own laws. If we say 10% for PWDs, then we take it from the overall budget. Then we say 20% for the youth, we take it from the overall budget, so that we don't get mixed up, because some of PWDs, it's a question of numbers. When they attend public participation, they are outnumbered. But it's better when they have their own share in a lawful manner. So I think we need legislation. They have been pushing for serious legislation, and I've been part and parcel of that process to ensure that their demands are supported by legislation.
Thank you so much. You take Bwana Ruto.
Okay, thank you. What I will do is I will engage them, know their needs, their concern, and present them fully to the relevant authorities. Two, I will be always available to them. Thank you.
Asante sana Bwana Ruto. I'll take the session back to Bwana SK.
Thank you, Janet, for that session on the public questions. And we move ahead with our questions. We were to ask six questions, and right now we are remaining with 2. And this goes, or rather focuses much on the diversity and the current, or rather the landscape, the overview landscape in Kabarnet Ward. We have the urban area, Piteremka huko Kimoso kwenye Joel Ruto anatoka. I think both of you are from the lowlands, and you understand the diversity that Kabarnet Ward has, with a population of over 15,000, with a or rather voter population of over 15,000. That is according to the register given by the IBC, and also a population of over 40,000. It is the county headquarters. It is diverse. And if you bring someone from the village, they'll have unique problems. Maybe barabara is impossible. There was a story we even ran as Baringo News sometimes in a place called Orokwo. From Orokwo to a village called Nyonyorwo, there is no road. And if at that time there's a family which had lost a loved one and they were carrying their loved one on a coffin, or rather the coffin using their hands from Orokwo down. So you can see when you talk about roads, it is unique when you go to the rural areas compared to coming to the urban areas. And now my question goes, in your view, how are you planning to address this diversity, or rather these specific or unique needs in various places within the ward should you be elected? And I'll shoot that to Joel. Take it first.
Thank you. This is a good question. To your question, the needs of the people, the needs of the people comes first with priorities. And also have what we call a responsive leadership. I think responsibility is a key there. So what I will do is identify the uniqueness of the people. One, know their needs. Represent them fully by their backgrounds. For example, you have talked about Kabarnet town and Kimoso. From where I come from, we are lacking water. Now to that, I will address the water issue. To town, it's about enabling environment for the businessmen and women. Two, it's about security lights. It's about cleanliness in town. So to me, I will be there to listen to the people and know their needs and avail myself there. Thank you.
Well, Ernest, what is your take on that?
Thank you, SK. Kabarnet is very unique, very diverse. We have the urban area. They have their own distinct needs. In the urban area, you'll realize that most people living in urban areas, they have come to do business. So according to them, a good working environment is very important. Personally, I've been able to make sure that people do their business without being infringed. We used to have cases of harassment by the police. We've been able to deal with that decisively, and all the businessmen are now going about their businesses without harassment. We had incidences of agencies, government agencies, who are trying to implement some of the acts, like the music copyright and all this. Those are the challenges people in town face. I've been able, my background is business. I was the chairman, Chamber of Commerce. So we've had serious interaction. We have serious contacts that we are able to sort issues as they arise. So I'll continue that process. Within town also, we have challenges like the water challenge. Personally, that is a big issue, the Kirdam issue. That's a project that collapsed. We were having a funding from a donor. We are now pushing through this to the government, the national government, that we need to revive so that we improve the water distribution within town. The people in town also have serious issues, social issues. They deal with matters to do with their welfare. school fees issues, and all this. So we will make sure that we balance issues to do with bursaries and maybe other interventions. Look for support from well-wishers, and also they also need more of partnering with people who can give guidance and counseling. We have an issue to do with drug addiction, and that is a serious issue that is affecting families. We are going to make sure that we do serious intervention. We want our children not to be exposed to drugs. So I will be seriously pursuing that through the agencies. We have the police, we have the legal licensing boards, and all these things, so that we are able to have a good working environment in town. When we go to the rural areas or the surrounding villages, we have myriad of issues. We've had road issues, but I can tell you, with my coming, the first thing I did when I came in, I looked and assessed the needs, and I realized road network was a problem. And personally, I'm one MCA who was able to create a memorandum with care and submitted almost 70% of my road network to the national government. It was domain in county, but I made a persuasion. We entered into an MOU, and if you move around Kabarnet now, you will see a lot of work going on. Even when we are in an election, there is road network being implemented because of that vision to make sure that our people, we have only one government, but we only have this separation for matters of implementation and reaching out to the people. But these people belong to Kenya, so the road network is being worked on. In the rural areas, I'm addressing serious water issues. I've been able, if you go to the records, you will realize that the MCA of Kabarnet is able to multiply resources. Like Magonai area, we had an allocation, and I was able to look for a fund that they needed, just a matching fund. So for a failing 9 million, I attract 70 million. I mean, the people of that area would have taken so many years to get 70 million for a particular project. And even in the Salawa area, we have Kapsia Bowl. I was able to ensure we get a funding from these funds we get from European Union for good governance. And they were able to be allocated 10 million. So beside the normal allocation of the World Fund, I've been able to bring on board more resources because of that foresight and serious engagement with those people who are ready to work for us. So for me, I'm promising more, looking more for the resources, and also with this now addition of empowerment, I can tell you Kabarnet work will not be the same.
Thank you for that time that you've taken. I'll go back to Ruto. On the same question of the diverse nature of Kabarnet ward, how will you convince the residents of Kimoso, for example, and or rather those of Kabarnet town, to agree to allocate more funding to a road in Kimoso than within Kabarnet ward, looking at the balancing, or rather the varied balancing of road network within Kabarnet town and the lower side of the Kericho area? How will you convince the Raia on allocating more resources to roads in some places and less to some places?
Thank you very much. The real problem we are facing is inclusivity of leadership. We have not been including them in this budget process, but we have been using them as a stamp, a rubber stamp. Now, to me, what I will do is I will engage them. Three, I will assure them fair distribution of resources.
evaluation and feasibility study before a project. You have to do a feasibility study of a project. Afterwards, now you come and engage the people. When they give you a project, engage them in ensuring that it is a priority project. There are some projects which can be done in 10 years, and there are projects which can be done immediately. Have a priority of projects. Engage them. Thank you.
Thank you. And maybe to you, Kibet, I'm sure you've had an experience now that you've worked with these people for 5 years. How are you able to convince? You've said you've lobbied the national government to maybe list some of the roads as Kera roads and not county government roads. How are you able to convince these people that there is a need to allocate more resources to Kapchomuso or Kapkokwon or a water project or a road project when you're sitting here at museum doing public participation?
Thank you so much. I think when I came in, we used to do very serious mutilation of projects. And for one, I tried to push through at least one project per location. So we were able to achieve, like now, we have a project in Orokwa known as Kesoil. I was able to convince the lower Orokwa that they surrender all the funds so that we are able to achieve that project. As we speak, we are almost at 80% of implementation of the project. And through my persuasion skills, I was able to explain to them that we cannot all say that if we are traveling to Marigat and we have a shortage of food, I would rather, if for example, we are traveling with Mheshimiwa should accept that if I'm more energetic, then I consume the food and then I carry him on my back and we'll reach Marigat because we need energy to travel. So that is how I've been able to tell my people that instead of being individualistic, because we've seen incidences where villagers will come together and say, we are going today to the public hospital to fight for the pipe work. And they don't know the source. And if you go to these villages, you will find pipes. And they say, we are waiting for the water. Ikifika tu kwa hii area yetu, we will connect. And that is a disconnect. So for me, I think if we move to villages and see practically what is on the ground, that is when we can understand more about what I'm saying about not mutilating projects. I have a crazy idea that I will present because now I'm well positioned for government. I'm well positioned for leadership role, decision making. To me, the word fund needs to be relooked. If we are going to allow villagers to buy, like we have an incident where in Saimo, Sarman, the village, the people decided to buy a dosa, and they said this dosa cannot move out of Saimo Sarman. In that, even when you have a problem in Saimo Soi, the government must look for another dosa. And I want to tell you, today we are talking about a dosa that is not there. Because they did not allow that serious. You know, we are not working for a selfish interest. We are working for the people of God. We have a spirit that we must be mindful. So can you imagine when the people of Saimo Soi are suffering and a dosa is lying in Saimo Saraman, and that might have happened. So according to me, we should have serious government intervention. We should not allow people to monopolize resources. Like for us, we bought a dosa and a grader, but you will find our grader in Tiati. When there is need, we want to rescue something, the government will say, no, we have some allocation, because the government is the one fueling, is the one managing. So we should, there's that line that we need to relook. No. The word fund, I want to ask people, let us relook at it. Let us look at the issue of money. Let us look at the value for money.
Thank you for that time. Well, there are an array of issues that were raised by the community, and among them are poor health services in Kabarnet ward. And they are citing the county referral hospital as an example. They are also citing dispensaries with persistent shortage of drugs and other commodities. This is affecting the quality of service delivery to the people. So the structures of the hospital are there, but now the services may not be adequate among the people. That is one issue. Another one is on water scarcity. The residents of some locations travel for up to 5 kilometers or more in search of clean water, like Salawa sublocation and Lelmen sublocation. There's also frequent shortage of water in Kabarnet municipality due to unsustainable operations of Kirandich Water Services Company. And in line with the same issue of water, there has been a consistent concern about management of waste, maybe garbage and general sanitation of the county headquarters. And to the two of you, what plans do you have in sorting out the issues of poor health services in the various facilities and water and sanitation? To you, Bwana Ruto, what's your plan on health and water?
Thank you. Health is one of the affected areas of management. To me, I believe we have to table it at the county assembly. First, we need to change the management team, the health management team. Two, we need to partner with other stakeholders like NGOs, companies of goodwill. We have partners, foreign partners, which we can engage them. I believe MCAs and other leaders have been going for conferences. They have been going abroad for conferences and workshops. And one of the failing areas is partnership. They have not been keen enough to partner with other stakeholders, especially the foreign partners, which can be of good help to our community. So to me, I will make sure any foreign trip I have a partner to do projects, especially in health sector. Health needs a lot of resources. And so you look at our dispensaries, especially Salawa, sometimes you find it's so impossible. Or actually the communities, like there's no any health facility because there's no resources. Two is allocating, or three, I think three, allocating more resources to the health sector. And also partnering with the national government. And also engaging the community on the needs of maintaining good health or a personal hygiene. Management of waste. We have no sewage. I think that is an issue we need to engage the county government, and we are going to hold the governor that we have an emergency. Waste management is so important to the health sector. If we don't have a waste, it is a problem. So that is something we need to do within the first 1 year, especially the sewage management. I think also it's having a strategic plan. A strategic plan of health sector is also key. You cannot just wake up in the morning and say, we are going to allocate this much money, yet it cannot be sustainable. So we need to have a strategic plan.
Thank you, Joel. I think we'll shift the same question to you, Kibet, and I think yours will be a bit different. You've been the MCA for 5 years and you're seeking a re-election. What have you done to ensure that Kabarnet is a clean town and the issue of access to water in Kabarnet town? Mara nyingi unafika Kabarnet, labda unaingia hoteli, unaambia huwezi ingia kwa hiyo choo. What have you done as a sitting MCA? And that one also goes ahead to the health facilities. There's been a serious outcry about the functionality of the county referral hospital. And most of the county health facilities in mashinani, utapata zingine zilijengwa, but they are not operational. What have you done? And maybe now, what is your plan going forward?
Thank you, SK. We cannot run away from the fact that our health sector is ailing. One key challenge that we face, we've all had experiences. We've seen small health, like we've seen missions. When you go to this mission hospital, you realize they have few infrastructure, but people are saying we are going to that mission hospital. The reason is service delivery. What we have realized is we have a challenge. Our people, who are our brothers and sisters, who are employed, especially like the referral hospital, we have all what it takes to have the very best hospital in this world. But what happens from the leadership perspective? And you see, we have people we call like an hospital, this hospital of Kabarnet. We have a whole set. We have a CC, we have a CEO, we have a med soup, and all these people. And if you go to that hospital, you realize there are some things that are going wrong just because of lack of work ethics. For me, I want to say that that we must all agree to change. We must all agree that if you have been employed to work, can we work for the people of Baringo? People should not expect to be followed up and down. Like, if you go to cleanliness in the hospital, we have people employed to do that job. If you look at how, there's also another challenge, how we position the CEOs and the CCs. You will find someone who is, for example, when we are starting the vetting process, you will get it that we have a process where we say the CC must be a health person, the CEO, but along the way, the executive will change these people according to their own whims. And you realize now, if you go to that hospital, I don't know the CEO whether he has the capacity and ability to run a hospital and all these kind of things. So it is a more of a human resource perspective. About the resources, I can tell you, health sector is receiving a lot of money. We've had even the NIDA. But some of these donors have moved away because of mismanagement in terms of how do we deal with these donors. How are we, like now we have a surgical block that is funded by the World Bank. It is not complete. The reason, at some point, I went there with a committee and we realized the works officers, the contract was awarded in 2014. In 2014, the quotation for maybe the metals was maybe 1,000, and now it's 2,000. The law is very clear. Can you sit down with the contractor and assess and create variations? So for the contractor to get those approvals is a nightmare, simply because the employees refuse to work. And now we are talking about, as we are talking, I'm told the contractor is either abandoning the work because the contractor cannot achieve the work going as per the quotation of 2014 because there has been delays in procurement, in payments, and all this. So I think that is a serious area that, as an MCA, I think I have the real information that I can put on the table because we've been visiting these projects. We know exactly what they need to change. So with the right leadership in place, and especially the executive, we will be able to change something in the health sector. Some of the dispensaries, and it's good to tell ourselves the truth, there was an overambitious development that now, if you go to villages, you will find the distance between one dispensary to another one is like 500 meters or 1 kilometer. When you build the structures, you need workforce. When you need workforce, we have ceilings. You are told you cannot employ past this percentage. And that is another area that has really, so the leadership, we must go back and relook and persuade our people that if the road between Ainomoi and Salawa is now tarmac, because initially people used to say we need a dispensary because we are traveling for a long distance because the roads were poor. But now it is tarmac. It means the cost of traveling between one dispensary to another one could be cheaper. Instead of having a dispensary at every 1 kilometer, we can now equip the existing health facilities. We can employ more workers so that we improve on the service delivery. There is the issue of water and waste management. It is a sad story that even to date, Kabarnet being a county headquarters, we don't have a sewerage system. We are bringing in so much water. We are bringing in like 10 million liters of water. And we are not able to take away. You know, if you take in 10 million liters of water, expect to take away 10 million liters of waste. And that is what is a challenge. So my take is we need to have the sanitation component as a priority. We have also had a challenge. Whenever we say we want to relocate the waste, there has been a challenge of public participation. Mwananchi expects to see a clean toilet in Kabarnet. But if you tell Mwananchi we are bringing the sewerage to Kiboino, where I come from, Mwananchi will tell you, I don't need it. So they need a clean environment in Kiboino, they need a clean environment in Kabarnet, but they don't want to accommodate the waste. And simple reason is, Mwananchi, we are living in houses. Some of us have self-contained houses. We are accommodating the waste. Why can't we reason and do what is expected of us? Allow the what we call the NEMA, let us reason, give your input, how can we improve, and then we will be able to adjust these structures, like the waste management site, which is a nice one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. I think you've taken almost double the time that we were allocating. So, Joel, you have an advantage to cover that time. And there are a number of follow-up questions that my colleague here, Philip, has. So maybe, Philip, you can take that opportunity. And I think we are like 10 minutes away from concluding. And much of the public questions that you've asked, I think, Pia, they have been covered in the many questions that we've asked. So Phil, take up, then we conclude.
Okay, our dear candidates, tying that discussion, they just ended discussion. None of us has talked about Kabarnet Municipality Board. The County Assembly of Baringo, in its wisdom, passed a law to establish a board, Kabarnet Municipality Board, which is in existence right now by law. And this board, if it were to function as envisaged by law, it would address the immediate challenges Kabarnet Ward residents or Kabarnet Town residents are facing that we have discussed. The sanitation issue, the settlement within town, the issue of basic things like recreational parks, like the road network within town, the solar lighting, security issue around town, and also even public education like ECDs within town. If elected MCA, okay, that board, for purposes of information to the candidates, is in existence. The board directors are drawing salaries, no allowances for meetings, and largely it has not been operational because of lack of funding from the executive, and also it has not been able to attract funds from donors and external bodies. So if elected MCA, very fast, what do you think would you do to make sure that the board comes in, because you are privileged to be an MCA in a town which has a municipality board? What would you do to make the board operational? Just in a snapshot, you don't need actually a minute to.
Thank you.
For
the issue of municipalities, we need to see the policies. We need to see their engagements. What are their roles? What are their capacity? What is their capacity? The source of funding, the management board. This will now come in terms of policies making. When we table at the county assembly, we need to see their role, their jurisdiction, and also their roles, which is the main issue. Because there are some roles an MCA can play in town, and also and the county hall or the municipality also plays. We don't need double roles because it will bring conflict. And also have a cohesive engagement with them, management team. Because I've been in town, especially the Turkana. If you pass through there, you will not believe whether it is town. The issue is because of conflict of interest and personal conflict. And our leaders have not been coming clearly to see what is really affecting the town. Like the story of lighting. Who is playing a role there? We need to know. Thank you.
Okay, same question to you, Honorable.
Thank you, Tom. I think I was among those people who really worked so hard to have the board on board. There was so much legislation. But what really informed the formation of the board was a funding that was being targeted. And when we were able to do all the legislations, the executive emasculated the board. Now, they had qualified for the money. And that is our problem. We have even a municipal manager. But the MCA should not even be asking the MCA about running the town. We have a municipal board with a chairman. We have a municipal manager. And it is by act. Now, where we realized there was a big problem. And I think that is when we talk here, we also inform the public. We are not the only people seeking for positions. The governors will also be seeking for positions. These are questions that should be put to them. Because when the formulation stage, the governors, the 47 governors of Kenya realized that there was money coming for Kenya Urban Support Program. When they looked at the requirements, they realized that the World Bank was focused on proper implementation of the projects. And they had listed who are going to be the stakeholders. And it was a well documented, they had listed even the matatu industry, the market, everybody, the landlords and everybody. What the governors did, and you will agree, you will give me time because I have information that is vital for everybody. The governors decided that they must control those boards. They went and changed the law by an act and said in that board, the CC will be a member, the CEO will be a member, the municipal manager will be a member. So, and the governor will solemnly appoint 3 people. So out of 9 board members, the governor is already having the CC, the CEO, the municipal manager as the secretary, who is answerable to the governor, and 3 people that he chooses at his own will. We, the stakeholders now, were left with only 3 positions. That is how we managed to get somebody from the Juakali, we managed to get somebody from Chamber of Commerce, and somebody from the neighborhood. And that is how that thing was emasculated. What I'm saying is we must go back as stakeholders and demand for that municipality to work. I will lead that process.
Thank you. I think that is well tied up, and the way Phil Tomno put it, the issue never came up, and it's coming out quite strongly. We hope it will be functional and to address the functionality or delivery of services to the county headquarters. We are winding up with the final question, which has come from the members of the public, and this is on the youth agenda. What agenda do you have for the youth of this ward? And what strategies do you have in place to tame the issue of drug abuse? There is a mention of, in some questions, tumeona kuna maswali kuhusu pombe. In fact, someone said that there are some changa dens, I don't know where. So what strategies do you have to sort that out? And this entirely is affecting majorly the youth. So what is your youth agenda, and what plans do you have in eradicating the drug abuse? Then finally, there is also an issue to do with the gender-based violence. So I'll give each one of you maybe 3 minutes to outline your youth agenda and how you're going to address issues of drug abuse and gender-based violence. Joel.
Thank you. One of my biggest manifesto is youth programs and what we call talent exploration. Talent exploration includes athletic sports, swimming, singing, arts and design. And to me, what I'm planning to do for the youth is to create an enabling environment whereby we have a competition and we set the international time, especially for athletics. And we are going to engage with partners, I'm going to engage partners like companies, foreign companies like Safaricom. We have Safaricom, which has been assisting many institutions in Kenya. We have other foreign partners which can help the youth. For example, we have only one Terkat in Baringo for the last 20 years. And I believe among us, or among the youth of Kabarnet ward, there are many Terkats here, but they have not been engaged. They have not been assisted, especially by the leadership, which can be another advantage to them. Terkat is not employed, but is employed. We need more Terkat in Kabarnet ward. And that is one of my biggest manifesto or agenda for the youth. Concerning the issue of drugs abuse, as I said earlier, I am going to have what we call mentorship programs for the youth. I'm going to engage with other stakeholders like pastors, the clergy, the community elders or leaders, and we see on how we can articulate the issues.
Most of them are being or are engage themselves in drug abuse because of stress. We need to manage them. We need to show them some light on how they can manage the stress because of the current situation, especially the social and economic issues. It is not by their choice, but because of the surrounding environment, which is not friendly to them. So by having what we call mentorship programs, we can help most of our youth, especially those who are engaging in drug abuse. Concerning their issues of job employment, what I'm going to do is to have what we call job networking. I'm going to maneuver and I'm going to be more alert and more concerned about their issues. It is not necessarily that we get youth employed in Baringo County. There are some other companies, other institutions of government which we can lobby for them jobs and they can benefit. Two is empowering them. Engage them from the beginning. For example, now most politicians are using them for campaign, especially strategic team. Engage them now and also engage them after politics. By engaging them, they hone the policies and also have policies which are friendly to them, especially in terms of business taxes, licensing, and also give them grants, loans, soft loans, which can help them. Don't bring them materials or maybe machines which they are not used to, but provide them, engage them to have what is necessary for them. Let them tell you their issues. What one can do is not what you can plan for them. Let them learn for themselves. Usinunue ng'ombe alafu mpatie mtu mnyajui kama ng'ombe ama kuchunga ng'ombe. That's what I can say. Lakini ukienda mashinani, uengage them na ujue their issues, what they need, then you can lobby for grants and soft loans. Thank you very much.
On the issue of gender-based violence, do you have something to say?
Sorry. About gender issue, this is something which has been a problem, not only to the county government, but the national government. Like the issue of now nominations. This comes because of nepotism. I want to say that. Nepotism has played a key role, and we need to eradicate that. And also engage them. Yes. Thank you.
What do you understand by gender-based violence?
Gender-based violence is about, for example, if there's a lady campaigning now, then there is that masculinity problem. So security is a key issue. I think nepotism, let me explain a little bit. Most politicians have been using our sisters, let me say, because of their agendas. Well, and I don't want to explain that far.
That's okay.
But providing security to them.
All right.
And engaging them. Give them what I say, mentorship program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we've given you 4 minutes. To you, the sitting MCA, what is your youth agenda? And what plans do you have in eradicating the drug abuse issue? And finally, on issues of gender-based violence, what are your plans in mitigating them?
Thank you so much. Youth agenda is a big issue. When we talk about youth, we have almost 2 or 3 segments of youth. We have those school-going, and we have those who have accomplished school. We have those who need employment. That has been used majorly in the political arena. And personally, when I was campaigning on as saying I'm a youth. By then, I was within the bracket, and now I'm past the bracket. But I realized that the things we were promising, we need to relook, like employment. When you tell people you want to create employment, how are you going to create employment? We've seen counties that have created employment by engaging like Kitui, and that is what our leader was mentioning yesterday. They were able to create a textile industry and created 600 jobs at a cost. And he was comparing that cost with another project that created, they used 4 billion to create 100 jobs. So for me, I can say without doubt, we will no longer rely on the traditional job opportunities. We've all known that people have gone to school because they want to be teachers. That window is narrow now. People have been positioning themselves to be policemen. That window is narrow. So we must now go for serious development. Like, for example, in my ward, we have an opportunity for food generation. We need to introduce irrigation in the lower area. When we introduce irrigation, we will now bring the youth on board and tell them agriculture is not bad. Because the way we were taught in school was like a farmer is not a person who can make money. We know now globally, the richest people, if you go to Central Province, the young people are the richest because they are engaged in food production. So those are the areas personally I'll pursue. I started this process. When I came in as the MCA, I started a market, livestock market, just using my own resources with my friends. People could not see that as job creation. Now, if you go to Inamoi, you will see so many youth engaged in business. That is job creation. So it's just a question of mind setting, changing the minds of the youth that it is no longer business as usual. When you are following up and down the MCA or the MP, untafutie kazi ya ofisi, hiyo kazi ya ofisi haipatikani sasa.
1 minute.
And we must change that narrative. So for me, I'll be a hands-on person, direct the youth where there is the job opportunities to make money. About drugs, this is an issue that we must engage all the stakeholders. We know there are people who are peddling drugs. Those people should face the law. And there are policies we make. Like someone came with an idea that we don't want to be seeing these businesses. So shift these things to the backyard. So they shifted the bus to the backyard. And those backyards are where we are staying. So we are facing more problems because those bars were brought close to the residential areas. Like what is happening now along this Bondenia and the rest. The bars were taken that it should be not be seen by the so-called correct people. So that was a problem. About gender-based violence, we all know that this is a big problem. It is majorly, like in this part of the world, it is a societal problem. It is, you will find women being abused. You will find children being abused. You will even find now men. There are men now who are being battered because they are not able to deliver to their people the basic needs. So for me, we need more information. We need rescue centers. They need to be supported. We know of like Sunrise Children's Home. They have been giving us support. The government has not been allocating funds. So we need more funds so that we address this, because it is of the problems of, if you have a society that is experiencing gender-based violence, there will be no development. People will not go to school. People will lack people will be of low self-esteem. So for me, I can assure you that these are the issues now we need now to be introducing to our budget making process. You know, we've been dealing with the hardware thing that we need to change. A man should be told, beating a woman is not cool. You are not more manly if you beat women, but you're even more manly if you love women and give them hope.
Thank you. I think that time has been sufficient for you for that. Now, as we wind up, Joel, a minute.
Maybe something I forgot is about partnership. It's about we are going to bring a policy whereby we have an engagement with the county government and foreign partners like universities abroad, like other counties like Gishu. We have been having students flying all the way to Philippines and studying masters or degree programs. At even county level, we can have that engagement. And it is easier to get a visa using bank statement by the county government than having a visa by individual bank statement. So by doing that, we can have our youth represented and actually help a lot. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and we believe all of us are satisfied with that conversation, or rather the timing that we gave you. Now, we give you an opportunity to give your closing remarks, close to the people of Kabarnet Ward and anyone who is watching this conversation. So maybe we can start with you, Joel. What are your closing remarks for today? And what message do you have for the people of Baringo County and Kabarnet Ward?
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity again to kindly and humbly request to all the residents of Kabarnet Ward to consider voting for Joel Ruto as the new MCA for Kabarnet Ward. And all what we have been discussing here, I am going to implement. I'm going to represent you fully, and I believe you will not have a complaint during my time. I want to promise you that by the grace of God, we shall have a changed Kabarnet Ward. It is possible. I have the capacity, I have the ideas, I have the skills necessary to bring the required change. Kindly vote for Joel Ruto. Don't think that will bring any change. It is a personal or it's an individual responsibility to bring change. Thank you, and God bless you and do you good. Thank you.
And maybe a round of applause for Joel Ruto. And thank you for honoring the invite. Your final remarks for this day, Bwana Ernest Kibet.
Thank you so much, SK.
In a minute.
Yeah, I want to really take this opportunity to give you people a congratulation for raising the stakes high, putting leadership on the spot. I really appreciate. I've personally always enjoyed. I have a bigger vision. I'm not traveling just to be an MCA. I would also want to be the president of this nation. And I must always submit to the people's request. For me, I have traveled this political journey. I've realized that you must be a pragmatic leader. I came in as an independent. I realized the shortcomings of being a lone ranger. I've suffered in the field. I've been ghosted. I've been harassed. And I realized that you must change that. And that is the reason why I would have easily waited for an election, because I already know the tactics of winning as an independent. I would have waited and win at a low cost. But I said, let me subject myself to a party process. I'm now a nominee, I'm a candidate to the most serious party in Kenya.
30 seconds.
Our candidate is William Samoei Ruto, who is going to be the 5th president of Kenya. And me here, I'm gearing up to be a formidable soldier. The issues that Kabarnet is facing cannot be sorted by CDF or World Fund. It has to be sorted by national allocation. Freedom can only be sorted by huge allocation. Irrigation can only be achieved by a national allocation. And those are the issues why some of us have forgot the comfort of easy win, dodging the public in nomination, and subjecting ourselves to a thorough verification. And for the people of Kenya, the people of Baringo, for the people of Kabarnet, yesterday we launched a magnificent manifesto. That manifesto is in me. I am the proponent, I'm the stalwart, I'm the champion. I understand that manifesto. You cannot be the president and ignore the foot soldier. So for me, in August 9, you are better placed to elect Ernest Betarus as your MCA, and I promise to deliver tenfold. Thank you.
Another round of applause to the MCA. Thank you to the two candidates, Joel Ruto and Mheshimiwa Ernest Kibet, for honoring this debate, or rather the invite to this debate. It has taken the team a lot of time in planning, and if we were to end up with an empty podium today, it would have been an effort leading to futility, and maybe we would have had a conversation with the audience alone around civic education and nothing to hear from what the candidates would have in their hearts and their minds and in their plans for the people of Kabarnet Ward when should they be elected. And to those who have been following online, we are very grateful for your time as well. You've taken almost 3 hours in following this conversation. It has cost you a lot in terms of bundles and of course power in your phones and also your time. We are very grateful. This is the debate for Kabarnet Ward, and this forms a series of debates around the county. We have a sample of civic wards that that this program is targeting, that is funded by, or rather sponsored and in partnership together with the ZGG, the BACSOF, the Baringo Civil Society Forum, ourselves as Baringo News, Uraia, and Danida. All these partners have sampled 10 wards out of the 30 wards. That is a third or 30% of the wards in Baringo County, so that we can take this message of accountability and having assisting the voters to make informed choices. So this is the first among the 10 debates that will be coming up. There'll be one in Kapropita Ward, there'll be one in Kabartonjo, Marigat, Mochongoi, and maybe we'll give a lineup of the wards that this program will be targeting. And from us as a team from Baringo News, we are very grateful for your time. To the partners, we are also very grateful for committing your time, resources, and ensuring that this is a success. That is ZGG, the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance. That is the lead sponsor of this program. We do have Baringo County Civil Society Forum, led by the chairman here, who is one of the moderators, Phil. Thank you for ensuring that this is a success. We have Raia Trust, and finally, but not least, Danida, for ensuring that we have a successful debate. And to the audience here, I think there's nothing much we can say. We can only thank you and congratulate you for sitting here for all that time. Maybe you can clap for yourselves. Thank you for coming, committing your time, and also ensuring that we have a successful debate today. And to other stakeholders like the security team, the team from ZGG, the support team, of course, I'm sure, Waheshimiwa, you've not come alone. You have a support team, a driver, a personal assistant. tunashukuru sana kwa kuvumilia huo wakati wote. And before we close, there is a session that will be led by the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance, that is the Governance Accord. It is a small ceremony, I believe, and I think even me, I'll sit and watch because I'm not very much conversant with that. So the CGG team,
thank you so much. Can we clap for the team? I hope I'm audible.
And before you take over, I am almost forgetting about ourselves here.
Yeah. I think we need to clap for them. A better hand clap. Better one. So before we go offline, I want to call upon the social vetting committee. That's all the budget champions in the room, all the backs of members in the room. You know yourselves. Please step forward. I want to read out just a summary of the accord, the governance accord, so that I think you heard that it's very important we set the agenda with these leaders even before they get into office, so that when they get into office, the partnership continues. So I'll allow one of them just to read out very fast, and then if the aspirants agree to them, let me just hand over to them. You can, if you agree to what is there, you can just sign. Then let's clap for this team that has done a very good job. So please, you can just move this side so that we continue to see the aspirants. Nixon, please take us through very fast summary. Your mic is not on, I don't know.
We, the people of Kabarnet Ward of Baringo Central Constituency, Baringo County, held a debate with the candidates for the seat of Member of County Assembly, MCA, for Kabarnet Ward on 1st July 2022 at Kabarnet Vocational Training and Rehabilitation Center to chart and agree on a way forward towards sustainable development, equitable and quality services, participatory and all-inclusive governance and development processes, and peaceful coexistence before, during, and after 2022 general election. And together with the candidates, agreed as follows. Number one, that we shall at all times during the campaigns observe the rule of law and conduct ourselves peacefully. Particularly, the candidates shall refrain from hate speech, the use of inflammatory languages, and ethnic mobilization during their campaigns. Instead, they shall be at the forefront of promoting peace, national cohesion, and rule of law before, during, and after the elections. Two, that after election, the successful candidate shall, within 60 days in office, convene a citizens' forum to set priorities for the ward to inform the county integrated development plan. The successful candidate shall embrace and promote open governance practices in his or her work as MCA of Kabarnet Ward and ensure meaningful citizen participatory in legislation, planning, budgeting, and policy formulation processes. And further access to information, proactive disclosure of information, and regular consultation with the people of Kabarnet Ward in execution of his or her mandate as MCA. On their part, the people shall willfully and deliberately work with the successful candidates towards realization of these ideals. That after election, the successful candidate shall respect, protect, and facilitate the people's rights as enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Kenya. At all times during his or her tenure in office, the successful candidate shall refrain from any action that may be injurious to the rights of the people. That after election, the successful candidate shall at all times in his or her tenure in office uphold the national values and principle of governance set out in Article 10 and the provisions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya. Number 3, This accord is binding to the people of Kabarnet and the candidates at all times before, during, and after 2020-22 election, and shall constitute the basis of assessing the performance of the successful candidate after election. It shall be a measure of honor and personal integrity for particularly candidates to uphold the provisions of this accord. In line with the spirit of the Constitution of Kenya, proceedings of recall under Article 104 of the Constitution can be commenced against the successful candidate should he or she violate any provisions in this accord. Thank you. It will be signed on this first day of July 2022 at Kabarnet Vocational Training and Rehabilitation Center, Baringo County. There is
just a summary. Just a summary of what we have been discussing. I don't know why, Mike. Thank you. So I don't know what the candidates feel. If it's okay, you can just walk down here. You can sign. Let this be our table of signing. And then we close that ceremony. Then we can just show that we have signed. So we'll start with you, Ernest. I don't know what you feel.
Thank you so much. I think this is one of the documents that can promote accountability. And I've already signed.
What about Ruto? Just for the sake of ceremony, you can just sign it from here. I know you have not completed 100%. Let's hear from Honorable Ruto first. Just a minute.
I am in agreement.
You are in agreement.
Yes.
Let's
And I've signed.
You can sign it from here. And then witnesses, a witness, name of the candidate, telephone. So one of the witnesses are all of us. Let's clap as they sign. We'll attach the attendance list that at the doorstep. Maybe Honorable Ruto, you can now also demonstrate your signing. We'll leave a copy with you, and then we'll take one of our copies for reference in future. Thank you. Let's clap for them. Asante sana. So you can stand here with the candidates together so that we take a very nice photo. Yeah. So ladies, please also show up. Where's our chairman? Tom, no, you need to be here so you can demonstrate. I don't know how. Just show that you have signed. If not, you can just do it for now, but we make sure that you have a. Okay. There's no problem. You can even do that. Good. You can show the side you have signed. Tupige makofi. There is a ceremony that they are committing to national values and principles of governance. Asante sana, asante sana. So very quickly, I'll just pass a vote of thanks. Where is Nuria? Hapa? Yeah, I think we can. Okay, vote of thanks. I think SK had already mentioned. So my appreciation on behalf of the organization to the entire social vetting committee that is led by Janet. Janet Simama. Let's clap for this honorable lady. I think she led the able team. Of course, backs off, again led by our chairman. Let's clap for them. Baringo News, they have done tremendous job here. Sindio? Let's clap for them. They have enabled us to be seen all over the world. I can see the comments. We have, of course, the county government of Baringo to siwasahau. Let's clap for director here. The county commissioner's office in the absentia. A clap for them. And she told me 3 words. Peace, peace, peace. Kila mtu aseme peace, peace, peace.
Peace, peace, peace.
Asanteni sana. Hivyo ndio aliniambia, so I pass the message. An appreciation to our security team. They have done a great job. Have we not felt safe? That's why we have canvassed the debate issues very in a harmonious way. Of course, I will not forget our partners who have been mentioned, Uraia Trust, I know they are following, and also the leader who are the back donors supporting this program. Our candidates, finally, I think they have really tackled the issues. So let's really give them a round of applause. Hope I have not left out anyone. For the state generally, I know there will be stories that will come from here. Let's clap for them. It's a very important group, the online audience. I know they are still watching. Let's clap for them. They are really engaged. Even holding the moderator to account that you have not asked my question, repeating that question and so on. A clap for them. Very important. In our church, we usually clap for our Lord Jesus Christ. So a clap for the Lord Jesus Christ. Asante sana, asante sana. I hope I have not left anyone. We appreciate all of us who have made this a debate a success. So watu wa Kabatonjo, we are coming. Kabatonjo tunafanya nini? Tunakuja. Please prepare your questions, engage the aspirants. The vetting committee, please plan well. You can pick from the lessons from here. Asanteni sana, God bless you. We can end with the national anthem and then one of us, now a lady. I don't know who can volunteer to close for us with a prayer, a lady. We have not had. Madam, can you? Good. Let's rise up and sing the national anthem. For the candidates, the conversation is going on online. I think SK did mention. So I'll continue to respond to those issues that are being raised. So Mungu nguvu
ilete baraka kwetu, akiwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na udugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi.
Let's pray. Baba, katika jina la Yesu nakuja mbele zako wakati huu nikisema ni asante kwa vile umekuwa pamoja nasi tangu tulipoanza asubuhi mpaka wakati huu Jehova. Asante kwa sababu ya hawa aspirants ambao wako mbele mwetu siku ya leo, kwa vile wameweza kutueleza manifesto yao ya serikali yetu ambayo inakuja tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 Jehova. Asante kwa viongozi wote ambaye wanaendeleza manifesto yao katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Asante kwa wale ambao waliweza kuandaa hii mkutano wa siku ya leo Jehova. Inajua ya kwamba uko pamoja na wao, na ni asante kwa sababu umeweza kuweka mawazo yao ya kwamba waweze kuhoji wale ambao wataweza kuongoza katika hii town yetu ya Kabarnet Ward Jehova. Asante wakati huu Jehova, tunapoondoka mahali hapa Jehova, na kabiti mkononi mwako kila chamba ambaye tumeweza kuwekwa mbele mwako siku ya leo Jehova. Tunapoondoka Baba, huwa pamoja nasi tufike nyumbani tukiwa salama Jehova. Ninaomba hata kwa ajili ya hii institution Jehova, wameweza kutukaribisha siku ya leo, na ni asante Mwenyezi Mungu kwa sababu hii institution imeweza kukaribisha viongozi mbalimbali kuandaa sherehe zao hapa katika rehabilitation center. Mwenyezi Mungu, naomba hata kwa ajili ya security wetu ambao wako pamoja nasi na wale ambao wana habari wetu Jehova, tunasema ni asante kwa sababu wewe ni Mwenyezi Mungu, ni wewe yule tunakutegemea, na tunasema ni asante Baba Mwenyezi Mungu. Yale sijaweza kuomba, naomba ya kwamba ukaweze kuniombea Mwenyezi Mungu. Nimeomba machache katika jina la Yesu aliye mwombezi wetu. Asante.
Tangazo moja tu, we found this place very clean. Kama unaweza chukua chupa yako, I think Nuri
Zuru Baringo is a virtual tour to Baringo County, the land of 1,000 scenic views. This segment is brought to you by the Lake Bogoria Group of Hotels, led by the Lake Bogoria Spa and Resort in Marigat, and the Rift Valley Hills Resort in Kabarnet, Baringo County. Karibu Baringo.